Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. Now, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m., which we do live, we take live questions. We save a little bit of time for live questions, but here on Open Mic, that's all we do, just take live questions, and that is what we're going to do here today. But before I get to the live questions, I got to just share my happiness with you guys. So I don't know if you guys follow me on social media, but I got I put on social media, I finally got a new computer. I've been humming and hawing and pricing it out for over a year. I've needed a new computer for about a year. So I was finally able to pull the trigger, and they had there was this computer I was really looking at with certain specs that was going to cost about $3,500. And I was humming and hawing and humming and hawing. And then I finally saw at this one place that exact same computer with all the same components was on sale for $2,500 after taxes and everything. So I bought it, I got it in. Now, just to give you an example of how happy this has made me. Now, I had a quad-core i7 and an NVIDIA 980 video card and 16 gigs of RAM, and that was my old computer. So this new one, I've got the 2070 video card. I've got the i9 8-core 990 processor and 32 gigs of RAM and, the M.2 hard drive and all this kind of stuff. Here's an example of how it has done. So I use a piece of software in my live broadcasting called Wirecast. It's a little bit of an expensive program. It's not super expensive though, but while I do, I bring all my video cameras into it, my graphics, my screen shares, all the transitions I record, I stream with it, all that kind of stuff. And on Wirecast, in the top here, there's a little readout that tells you how much of your CPU is being used, right? How close are you being to maxing out your CPU? So, when I would do a live show with an HD camera coming into it, graphics that you can see here, like graphics on the side, graphics on the bottom, and I bring in other graphics and I do screen capture and I'm streaming and I'm recording. Right, when I'm doing all that, my CPU on my last computer would be around 65%, 70%. It would start to get into not the red, but into the orange. And when I added multiple cameras, it got up into 85, 90, 95%. And that's when you start dropping frames and all that kind of stuff. But doing what I'm doing right now, HD camera, some graphics, I'm going to do a screen capture with your super chats there. I'm streaming to YouTube and I'm recording a 1080, 60 frames per second video. It would get around 60, 65% CPU usage. Right now, doing all that, my computer is registering 4% CPU usage. 65% CPU usage, now down to I'm only using 4% of my CPU's capacity right now. This is going to open up the doors for me to do a lot of different things I've been wanting to do, but I haven't been able to do because I haven't had the horsepower, but now I do, and I'm all excited, and I know none of you care about what I just talked about, but I'm excited about it, damn it, and I wanted to share it with you because I'm excited. Anyway, okay, so let's move on here and get on to the first stuff today. And the first live question today comes to us from Hayden Burke, who writes, are you aware there is a Braveheart sequel, Robert the Bruce, set for release this year with the original actor who plays Rob already in post too? Yes. Here's the thing. I would not call it a sequel to Braveheart. It is not, none of the same people are working on this movie. It's not the same director. It's not the same producers. It's not the same production companies. It's not the same anything. Robert the Bruce is a historical figure that anybody can make a movie about. And yes, it is starring the same actor. I forget his name. He's a Scottish actor who has been working on this film. He's been trying to get this movie going for like over a decade, this actor. He's been trying for a long time to get it. But much like the Chris Pine Netflix movie that was just out this year, that was about Robert the Bruce. Just as that was not a sequel to Braveheart, I wouldn't call this a sequel to Braveheart. It's not a sequel. It's the same actor, but it's not the same companies. It's not the same producers. It's not the same answer. I would not call it a sequel. You can call it a sequel in spirit. I'd be comfortable with that, but I don't think I would call it a sequel per se. So but it's still going to be interesting to see it. It's still going to be interesting to see it, especially seeing the same guy who played it in Braveheart play it again. John DeBenedict writes, Happy Sunday, John. Thank you so much. 1 week till Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. 1 week until Tom the Goat Brady goes to the Super Bowl for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth time. Ninth time he's going to the Super Bowl. That's next week. So happy Sunday to all of you guys as well. Finally saw Simple Favor. Oh, fantastic. Probably best performance I've seen from Blake Lively. Damn good movie overall. It wasn't just Blake Lively. Anna Kendrick was great. What's the dude's name from Crazy Rich Asians? Henry Goulding or something like that? He was quite good at it, but it was all about director Paul Feig, and everybody gives Paul Feig a hard time because of his 2016 Ghostbusters, which I didn't think was all that bad. I thought it was pretty funny. I had a lot of problems with it, though. But Paul Feig's a very good director. And there are people who just want to plug their ears. No, I don't like him because he did Ghostbusters. Well, okay, yeah, but look at all of the rest of his body of work. I don't care about the rest. Whatever. Paul Feig's actually a hell of a director. And what they did with A Simple Favor, I've never seen a movie like it. That literally changes genres like every 15 or 20 minutes. It's crazy. And again, like you said, Blake Lively was fantastic in it. Anna Kendrick was fantastic in it. Their chemistry together was crazy good. It's just one of my real big pleasant surprise movies of 2018. I had a great time with it. I'm glad you enjoyed it too, John. All right, next. So You Want to Be an Imagineer writes, going to see Serenity for a second time today. It's seriously one of the most insane experiences I've ever had at the theater. And it's so funny because I haven't seen it. I had the option to go see it yesterday. I chose not to. It just looks very bad to me. And I've talked to a number of people that did not like it at all. But even from people who hate the movie, and there are people who like the movie, such as yourself, Imagineer, but even people who hate the movie are saying, it is pretty insane. Like, even people who are just bashing on the movie are saying, it is insane. It is kind of loopy, and you've never quite seen something quite like it, and blah, blah. I'm hearing all that, too. I'm going to have to check it out at some point, but I think I'm going to wait for it to get on Google Play. Again, it just looks so bad. And, I've seen movies that looked really bad, but then heard from people that it's great, and so I go check it out. But this just looks really bad, and then the people I know who have seen it have not increased my confidence in it at all. So I'm probably going to take a pass on it, but you're not alone, Imagineer. There are other people out there who are quite appreciating the insanity of it. And I'm curious to see when I do get around to doing it. Hayden Burke writes, also, have you heard about the controversial new Michael Jackson documentary from Sundance called Leaving Neverland? HBO has purchased the rights. Yeah, apparently it's like a 4-hour documentary that covers the sexual abuse allegations of two particular kids at the time, now a couple of men in their 30s. I don't know much about it, but I've always said, a lot of people have been asking for years now, when are we going to do a Michael Jackson biopic? And one of the things I've always said to that is I would be interested in seeing a Michael Jackson biopic. But the problem is, if you're a producer of that, how do you make that movie? Because there is simply no way. Now, I'm not talking about the documentary now. We're talking about a potential biopic. There is no way to make that biopic without having half the planet hate you. There's no way to make a Michael Jackson biopic without having half the planet hate you and hate your film. Because do you portray him as a child abuser? Do you gloss over the child abuse stuff, or do you portray it as the allegations were there and they weren't true, and you portray it that way? Whatever way you portray it, you're going to have half the planet really mad at you. If you kind of portray it that he was somebody who took advantage of children, then there's going to be a lot of people that are going to get mad at you for portraying him that way. If you gloss over that stuff or portray it in the movie like that wasn't true, then you're going to get half the planet mad at you for portraying it like that. And I've just never known, if you're a studio head, I mean, the idea of a Michael Jackson biopic is great, but that's just an elephant you cannot get out of the room. And there's nothing you can do that's going to make people happy about it. And so I always thought it would be a very, very big challenge. Now, apparently this is documentary, but apparently the people who made this documentary don't know how to edit, and apparently it's 4 hours long. And I'm like, okay, if you can't tell your story in less than 4 hours, then you're not a gifted enough documentary filmmaker. I mean, you're probably much better than me. Make no mistake about it. But if you can't tell the story you're trying to tell in less than 4 hours, then you're clearly not that good. But so I don't have any desire to see it. But it screened yesterday. I heard there's a lot of controversy that I have security at the screening of it. There were protests, like mostly pro Michael Jackson protesters were at it because apparently the documentary, casts a very negative light on Michael Jackson, and I don't know anything about any of it. So, but yeah, it's getting a lot of people talking, Hayden. That's for sure. All right. Zelda Ninja writes, my brother hated Aquaman. I quite liked it. Well, I quite liked it too. Again, because there was no new Star Wars movie this year, I took my family, my siblings, my brother, my sisters, my mom, Anne, my brother-in-law Ray, my sister's husband. I took them all to go see Aquaman. I really liked the movie. Half of my family, not so much. So I'm not surprised that you had a mixed reaction with your family outing, Zelda. Zelda follows up with, also, thoughts on Hercules 1997. I mean, it's not one of the great Disney films, but I always liked it. And the big thing to me was always James Woods. James Woods as Hades was always kind of the highlight of that for me. And whenever I think of that movie, I don't actually even think of the title character. I always think of Hades, as voiced by James Woods in it. Stubble McShave writes, as fighters go, Butterbean is kind of an anomaly. Oh, it was a huge anomaly. Massive anomaly. And I don't just mean that, no pun intended. He was an anomaly. But I can tell you too, really nice guy. At least I had a chance because I used to train at Randy Couture's gym. Now, Randy Couture is the former UFC heavyweight champion. And he was light heavyweight champion too. Anyway, I used to train at Randy Couture's gym. And I remember Butterbean would be in there. And I actually got to roll with Butterbean a little bit. It was really nice, super sweetheart of a guy. But yes, he was definitely an anomaly. Nathan Oswald writes, the most mismarketed movie I've seen is Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Only the last 20 minutes of the movie take place in Manhattan. Oh, dude, that is not by any stretch of the imagination the most mismarketed movie ever. Lots of movie titles have something in the title that they eventually get around to in the movie, but isn't necessarily in the first two acts. That's not a new thing. That's not a new thing, per se. And besides, you're just talking about the title of a movie. I'm not even so worried about that. Like, what to me is, look, still, Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, is just another Friday the 13th movie. Let's be honest. It's just another Friday the 13th movie. And the trailers made it look like just another Friday the 13th movie. Where it takes place for the majority of the movie is, in my opinion, at least anyway, Nathan, is completely irrelevant. Just because, hey, wait a minute, that trailer made it look like most of the movie takes place in Chicago when really most of the movie takes place in St. Louis. Well, who cares? Did they market the movie appropriately? Did you get a true taste of what the movie was about? And I would argue with Friday the 13th in all of them, but particularly Manhattan, they did. The trailers look like another Friday the 13th movie, and that's what it was. So I wouldn't call it mismarketed. That's just me, though, Nathan. That's just me. All right. Ben Rayner writes, hard to believe Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture and not Lion King. Well, remember, they didn't come out in the same year, so they each had different competition. They had different set of circumstances. It's not an apples-to-apples comparison. Remember that. Hard to believe Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture and not Lion King. Beauty and the Beast is my favorite, but Lion King is a lot of people's favorites. Also impressive, Beauty and the Beast was nominated when only 5 films were allowed to be nominated. That's a very good point. That I think more people need to pay attention to, Ben. That not only is Beauty and the Beast to this day still one of the only animated films ever to be nominated for Best Picture. Only 3 in history have. And Beauty and the Beast was the first. But Beauty and the Beast did it still in an era when there were just 5 nominees. Just 5 nominees. Now, I would say that kind of raising the question about how did Beauty and the Beast get nominated for Best Picture and Lion King didn't? By the way, Lion King is my all-time favorite. I love Beauty and the Beast, but Lion King is my all-time favorite animated film, no doubt. But they weren't out in the same year, right? Let me just, I can't honestly remember, I honestly can't remember, oops, that was the wrong one. I can't remember how far apart those movies were. I'm going to look that up here quickly. So Lion King came out in 1994. And Beauty and the Beast came out in 91. So they were 3 years separated. They each, remember, Oscars are not about the individual film. It's about how the individual film fares against its contemporary competition of that same year. So there's no point in saying, how did Beauty and the Beast get nominated and Lion King didn't? Well, because they were in different years and they had a completely different set of competition against them. It's like what I try to say to people is like, well, how can Black Panther be nominated for Best Picture and Dark Knight wasn't? Well, you can't, that's a ridiculous comparison. Black Panther's out this year and is competing against this year's crop of movies with up to 10 nominees being allowed. Dark Knight came out in a year against totally different competition and in a year that only allowed 5 Best Picture nominees. So it's a when people like, and we just seem to go to it quite a bit. I'm just seeing that a lot of, why Black Panther and not The Dark Knight? Well, you might as well be saying, why did that guy in Peru have a taco for lunch on Tuesday, but that young woman in Spain had a Big Mac for lunch on Wednesday? How does that, what? They're two totally different things. So I wouldn't worry about it, but I will say this. Beauty and the Beast was magnificent. It's absolutely magnificent. And Lion King is my favorite. But we're now in an age where a couple of more animated films have been nominated. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse should have been nominated for Best Picture this year. It was, in my opinion, it was the 3rd best movie of the year. I think Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse should have been the next animated film. The Oscars have to get rid of this stupid participation award called Best Animated Feature. Get rid of that category. The Oscars only use it as an excuse to not nominate animated films for Best Picture when they know they're usually amongst the best of the year. Get rid of the animated category. Get it out of here. Anyway, but I've been saying that for years. You guys know that. Let's see here. Where'd I go? All right. Stubble McShave writes, would Roma be the first foreign film to win Best Film? I'm not sure off the top of my head. Stubble, I'm sure a simple Google search could answer that for you. But I remember a while ago, somebody else brought it. We were talking, me and some friends were talking about, not that exact question, but something similar about foreign films and Oscar nominees. I still don't know why. I've never had anybody explain to me why The Artist, which I believe was a 2011, might have been earlier than that. But anyway, The Artist won Best Picture, starring all French performers, produced by all French film companies, and it was not considered a foreign film. I'm still not sure how that worked. It was not nominated for Best Foreign Film. It was not counted as a foreign film, even though all the performers were French and all the production companies behind it were French. The Weinstein Company released it, but it was a French. So I don't know. I'm just saying I don't know. So how that whole thing works is still a little bit. I've got a pretty good handle on how the Academy works, but there are still some things that are a little bit nebulous to me, and that happens to be one of them for sure. But yeah, I really do believe Roma's going to win Best Picture. Not my pick, but it's going to win. Nathan Oswald writes, Ready Player One needs to win Best Visual Effects. Shining sequences are badass. I'm not so sure about that. I love the visual effects in Ready Player One, but the visual effects in Infinity War were stunning. The visual effects in, whether you liked or didn't like, the Solo A Star Wars Story, the visual effects in Solo A Star Wars Story were fantastic. A number of them. There are a number of really good casts. So I don't know. Like, I'm very pleased that Ready Player One got a nomination for visual effects because they are wonderful and they're perfectly stylized. And so I'm a fan of it, and you guys know how much I like the movie. But I don't know, Nathan, that I would say it needs to win. I don't know even if it would come in my number one or my number two spot. But I'm certainly glad it got nominated, that's for sure. Great movie, by the way. Senpaigar writes, where are we at? Where'd he go? There he is. Senpaigar writes, watched A Quiet Place yesterday. Oh, love that movie. That was my number one film of the year. I loved it. I have a 2-year-old daughter, and as a dad, I found myself getting emotional during this film, A+. You know, it's funny, I watched it again at home over Christmas. And by at home, I mean up in Canada at my family's place. And Ray came with me and Ann. Ray's come up to Canada with us a couple times. He gets along great with my family. But we were watching A Quiet Place again, and that scene that I'm sure got you choked up happened, and Ray started crying because, you know, Ann and Ray lost their dad just a couple of years ago. My father-in-law passed away just a couple of years ago. And just thinking about their dad when that happens, and it's powerful, man. It's really powerful on that level. Anyway, I'm glad you saw it, and I'm glad you liked it. Again, my number one favorite movie of 2018. Okay. Lee Mallinson writes, Woody Harrelson should be in the conversation for greatest working actor, in my opinion. Can do genre, lead, or supporting, and be so consistent. I respect that. I would not have him in my conversation. And listen, I am a big fan of Woody Harrelson. He brings it. He's consistent. He is definitely a guy you want in your movie. But, and you always know when he's in a movie, he's going to deliver. He's going to deliver a good performance. You know that every time. Take that to the bank. But is he in the same level? Would I put him in the same level as... I mean, gosh, do I put him in the same level as a Ralph Fiennes? No. Do I put him in the same conversation as a Gary Oldman? No. Do I put him in the same conversation as a Denzel Washington? No. Do I put him in the same conversation as like even somebody like a Jake Gyllenhaal? No. And that's no shade on Woody Harrelson, not at all. He's great. He's solid. He is one of the upper tier kind of level actors that when he's in a movie, you know you're going to enjoy his parts. But I just personally would not have him in that conversation as the best today. Wouldn't have him in that unless you're saying your conversation can include 25 actors. If you're saying the conversation can include 25 actors, then yeah, sure, I'll say Woody Harrelson's in that list. Yeah. But normally when I think of in the conversation, I'm talking 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 individuals that would get in that conversation. And I don't have Woody Harrelson there, but damn, he's good. Damn, he's good. And I'm a fan. And I'll see anything that dude is in. All right. Hector Jeter writes, finished the Ted Bundy tapes on Netflix. Wow. This guy was extremely wicked and evil and vile. He did show his fake charm to people during the trials. Yeah, so just yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, that the extremely wicked, incredibly evil, and vile, or however the title of it goes, with Zac Efron playing Ted Bundy, that trailer dropped yesterday, and it's got everybody talking about it now. And I wasn't even aware that the Ted Bundy stuff on Netflix had even dropped. So I might do that today. I might sit down and watch that today. But there were some people yesterday, and we talked about this on Open Mic a little bit yesterday. There were some people who are saying, oh, that extremely wicked, evil, vile trailer romanticized Ted Bundy. And I'm like, what the hell are you watching? You have to want to say that to say that. Just go back to the title of the movie and tell me they're romanticizing. Wicked, evil, vile. They even make the title too ridiculously long to drive the point home. Wicked, evil, vile. And then the trailer showcases the charming part of him because that's what he was always portraying. But the title is there as the safeguard to say, make no mistake, this charm is what makes this guy a monster. Wicked, evil, vile. I saw nothing in that trailer that remotely romanticized Ted Bundy at all. Well, why'd they put a good-looking actor like Zach? Ted Bundy was a good-looking dude. What are you supposed to do? Put John Campea in the role? Well, then he's too good-looking. Let's be fair. Then it's too good-looking. But I think Afro looks great. And look, the movie might be heart, blah, blah. Why can I say hot? The movie might be hot trash. I mean, no doubt. It might absolutely be hot trash. But I thought the trailer was fantastic. And I thought it made me feel, I think the jovial nature in the tone made me feel even more, like I shuddered even more. They made you feel just the immensity of the evil about it all. For me, it worked. But I mean, for some people, they're saying, no, they made it look like a comedy and it romanticized it. Like, you watched a different trailer than me. I mean, all due respect, if that's what you saw, more power to you. But it's a different trailer than what I watched because I didn't get that sense at all. But hey, whatever. Matt Thornton writes, have you watched the British sitcom Outnumbered? Nope. I'll be honest with you, Matt. I've never even heard of it, so I can't comment on it. Nathan Oswald writes, Mortal Engines made $82 million worldwide. Wow. I thought it was in the 90s. Hold a second. Let me just double check that, because I thought it was in the 90s. Not that that's any better. But yes, worldwide total for Mortal Engines is indeed, no, $81 million on a $100 million budget. This could conceivably be the biggest flop of the year. Probably is the biggest flop of the year. And I hate to say it because I love Peter Jackson, but it's well deserved. It's a bad movie. It's just a bad movie with a lot of potential, but it's just a bad movie. You know, the whole movie, look, I never read the novels, so I don't care. But the marketing, talk about misleading marketing. The marketing made you feel like it told you this is a movie about these moving cities that devour other moving cities. And maybe 5 minutes of the movie is about that, and the rest is about this other BS story. It was just terrible, and it's the biggest flop of the year, and I feel bad for Peter Jackson because I'm a fan of Peter Jackson, but it's well deserved. It's a truly bad movie, and should have been and could have been better. Nathan also writes, do you think Edward Furlong will cameo in Terminator 6? No, I do not. I don't think he will. And I honestly don't care if he does or not. I really don't. I mean, look, if he's in there, great. That's cool. If he's not in there, I don't really care. But no, I suspect, and I'm only saying suspect, I don't have any insider information here. I suspect he will not be in Terminator 6, even as a cameo. But it could be wrong. Who knows? Hector Jeter writes, over under 20% that Netflix will release a trailer to a new movie during the Super Bowl and release it right after the game, just like Cloverfield Paradox. I'll take the under 20% on that for this main reason. They did it with Cloverfield Paradox and it blew up in their face. Because they did it with Cloverfield Paradox. I remember that was, by the way, that was a great move. Because we were up until that trailer on the Super Bowl, we were still all expecting Cloverfield Paradox to hit theaters. And then all of a sudden, streaming on Netflix tonight! It was a really bold, gutsy, ballsy kind of move. And I applaud it. Unfortunately, the movie sucks. Sucks horribly. I don't want to hear any excuses for that. I mean, if you like it, that's great. All film subjective. But for me, I don't want to hear any excuses for it. That movie sucked. And everybody, instead of having this big exciting thing, it was like, oh, that's why it went straight to Netflix. Because it sucks. And Paramount knew they couldn't make any money with this thing. So they just sold it to Netflix to recoup some of their money. And away it went. But anyway, I think because... Now, notice, Hector, I'm not saying 0% chance. Because in theory, it was a good idea. In theory. It just blew up in their faces. But since in theory it was a neat idea, maybe they just think, well, we've learned our lesson. Let's try it again and do it better with a better movie this time. Maybe. But I will still take the under 20%, but I'm not going to say 0. I'm certainly not going to say 0. All right. Spencer Main writes, Andy King taming one for the... Andy King, who's a... Oh, okay, I know what you're saying. Andy King taking one for the team. If you are indeed talking about the Andy King from the Fire documentary, yeah, the dude who was going to go and give a blowjob to a government official to get a truckload of water released for their festival. He didn't have to do it, but he was willing to do it for the team. That's, holy crap. That's a team player right there, guys. That's a team player. Thank goodness he didn't have to do that. Mr. Hank Dunn writes, I've been listening to you since I was 10, and today is my 20th birthday. Wow. Thanks for 10 years. Not only for entertaining me, but for being my friend. Well, thank you so much, Hank Dunn. And yeah, technically, I started in this sphere. Like, I did my first movie blog post in the summer of 2003. That's when I really started. I did my first movie blog post in the summer of 2003. So I've technically been doing this for 15. I'm going into my 16th year. But yeah, podcasting came a little bit later and all that. I was the first movie podcast online. Wow, 10 years, man. 10 years, 10-year challenge. Thanks for sharing that, dude, and thanks for still being here, Hank. I appreciate that, man. All right. Lyle Navin writes, so you think DCU characters will cross over again? Oh, eventually. I just don't expect anytime soon. But just because it won't be anytime soon doesn't mean never. Right now, it seems like Walter Hamada has very wisely put the DCU... I still think the wisest thing would have been to reboot. But he went the route of trying to rehabilitate the image of the DCEU. And so far, it's working. It's just working. You know, Aquaman was more important than the money it made. And it's important that it makes money. But more important, people liked it. Not everybody, but in general, people liked it. And you haven't been able to say that about any other DCU movie other than Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman. All the other ones, just generally speaking, people didn't like it. Generally speaking here, by a good margin, people like Aquaman, and that's the more important thing. And then even more important than that, it looks like they're going to like Shazam too. So, but they seem to be on a course right now of ignoring shared cinematic universe and focusing on individual movies. But that doesn't mean it's forever. So it'll happen again, yes. Just, I don't think anytime soon. Pool of Dead writes, guy is selling scoops through Patreon tiers. Shady. First of all, I don't know who you're talking about. Is that shady? Well, first of all, I'm not in the scoop game, so I don't care. I'm reminded of the Joker's words, Heath Ledger's Joker's words. Says, my dad told me if you're good at something, never do it for free. My question would be, is whoever this is that you're talking about, do they actually have good, solid, reliable scoops, and the scoops they actually give are legit and they turn out to be true all the time? If that's the case, then you have something people want and are willing to pay a little bit for. I don't know. But if he's just some dude who just makes up crap and 50% of the time it's BS, then, well, that's shady. But I don't know. Again, it's hard for me to have an opinion, Pool of Dead, when I don't even know what the context is here. And I don't know who we're talking about or anything like that. So it's difficult for me to have an opinion. It's difficult for me to have an opinion. A Trey Gaming writes, saw Glass last night, was enjoyable enough. Have to agree that they didn't know what it was. Honestly, they should have found another way to portray it. It's a tricky one. It was a tricky film to make. I don't think anybody should pretend like look, I didn't end up liking Glass. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was a dumpster fire, but I didn't like it. But I think people seem to have this weird idea that, first of all, making a movie is easy, and in particular, making Glass was easy. Oh, all you got, it's hard. And like I said, while I didn't end up being a big fan of the film, and while I don't think it executed right, I will say, though, I can kind of see what M. Night was going for, and I thought it was gutsy. I thought it was gutsy when he was trying to do something grander. Like, take the underlying premise that we got out of Unbreakable, that was continued on in Split, and then even expand that world exponentially. Now, obviously I can't talk about it much because I don't want to give away any spoilers for those of you who haven't seen it yet, but he does something in the movie that tries to take that notion and expand it exponentially. And I thought it was gutsy. It did not work for me. It didn't execute right. And it kind of fell flat, in my opinion. But I can see what he was going for. And I mean, and that's why I don't think, see, some people saying, oh, with all the bad reception, do you think this is the end of M. Night now? And I'm like, no. This movie wasn't horrible. I didn't think it was any good, but I didn't think it was horrible. And there are people who like it, and like it quite a bit. And his last two films have both been solid. The Visit and Split. I don't think he's done. No, I don't think he's done. I think he's earned another shot or two. And I think he will, and hopefully he'll learn some lessons from this one, and we'll just see the continuing evolution of the Shamhammer, man. The continuing evolution to the return of greatness of the Shamhammer. All right. Nathan Oswald writes, my favorite buddy cop film is Tango and Cash. Yeah, a lot of people. It was funny. I froze on the name of Tango and Cash. I can't believe I did. But anyway, so many great buddy cop movies. So many great. By the way, we've got Bad Boys in production right now. I think the Lethal Weapon ones might be my all-time favorite. Yeah, buddy cop ones, I'm going to go Lethal Weapon's probably my all-time favorite. That's the one I'm going to go with. But Tango and Cash is great. Pool of Dead writes, now is no time to mourn. Now is no time at all. So saith Thanos, the only being with the might, nay, the nobility, to wield not one, but two infinity stones. A great line, great moment. Trey Gaming writes, didn't see Unbreakable or Split before, so some stuff flew over my head. You know, it's funny. I saw it with Anne, who hadn't seen Unbreakable in forever. So she didn't remember hardly any of it. And she'd never seen Split. And she's like, do I need to see Split? I said, well, I doubt it. But look, and so I just told her the basic idea of Split. And she went in and not even remembering anything from Unbreakable and having never seen Split, for the most part, it worked for her. But I think you're right. Here's what I would say to somebody. I think you can go in and watch Glass without having seen Unbreakable and Split, and you'll get the movie. You'll get it. You'll understand what's going on, and you'll get the basic idea. I don't think you have to see Unbreakable or Split to be able to go in and watch this movie and understand it. But as you kind of put, there will be some stuff that will go over your head a little bit. Not that's critical to the narrative, but there will be some stuff that goes over your head if you didn't. But for the most part, and this is why I don't think Glass is a terrible movie. Glass does a good job of telling its story as a sequel in a way that new eyes who have never watched the previous films can come in and understand what's happening. And that's one of the levels that I think M. Night did a good job with this film. Because I do think you can go in and see it okay. Yeah, there'll be some things that go over your head, and that's fine. But for the most part, you'll get what's going on. And I think that was your experience as well, Trey. All right. Godzilla Love Campea writes, Brad Pitt was in Deadpool 2. Did you know that? Dude, did you not watch my review of the movie? Yes. Everybody in my theater, when X-Force is jumping out and he hits the power cables, as the Invisible Man, and he hits the power cables, everybody in the theater just roared, realizing that was Brad Pitt. I mean, that was amazing. That was an incredible thing. By the way, that whole setup of X-Force was magnificent. I loved that. Roman Stewart writes, John, I love your content. Thank you for putting me on to AMC Stubbs A-List. Hearing about you talk about it in one of your shows, and I was sold. Alita, Battle Angel, yes or no? Well, I'll tell you what. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Roman. I appreciate that a lot. And I just got to use my AMC A-List again last night. Me and you guys remember Erin Cummings was on my show the other day. She and I were texting back and forth about something yesterday, and she had never seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So I'm like, well, hell, Anne's kind of locked up here doing homework, and she's going to be busy for the night because Anne left this morning to fly to Arizona to go to SummerSlam. Not SummerSlam. What's the big WWE event going on today? The tournament where people come in and then they get knocked out. I can't remember. You guys in the chat board, tell me, what's the name of that big... Anyway, Anne flew to Phoenix today to go to that WWE event tonight. So her and Corey flew out to that. So Anne was like totally busy last night because she had to get her homework done and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, well, hey, I got AMC A-List. I got some gift cards. What Royal Rumble? Thanks, Hold Love. Hold Love is running Royal Rumble. That's what it is today. So Anne flew out to Phoenix today to go watch Royal Rumble. So, I just said to Aaron, I said, hey, come on down. Let's go watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. She came. And she loved, like she was just bouncing off the walls when we came out of the theater, just bouncing off the walls. So I got to use that. As far as Alita Battle Angel goes, look, I've been talking about that a lot lately. It's a movie that I did not think. Well, look, I've been waiting for James Cameron to do Alita Battle Angel for over a decade. He's been talking about Alita Battle Angel for well over a decade. And I've been waiting for him to do the film. So then when I heard that they were doing it, but Robert Rodriguez was directing it, hey, look, he's made some great films, but he's also been on a terrible streak. He hasn't done anything good in a while. So I'm like, I don't know. And then I saw the first trailer for Alita Battle Angel. I'm like, oh, this doesn't look good. This does not look good. I did not like the first trailer for Alita Battle Angel. But couple more trailers come out since then that have given you a much better picture of the movie. And I got to say, I like the new trailers a lot. So I've gone from being a down to being actually kind of excited about the movie. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. So that's where I'm at right now with Alita Battle Angel. All right. I'm Upset writes, looking forward to What Men Want. No, I kind of like the first trailer of Alita Battle Angel. I have just not found the trailers funny. Now, when I first heard about the film, about the cast, the premise, all that kind of stuff, I was on board. I'm like, okay, this could be good because I like the cast. I liked What Women Want, so the concept is good, and I was on board. And then I saw the trailer. And it was funny because it was one of those days where the trailer dropped and a bunch of people saw it before me and everybody's raving, oh my God, the What Men Want trailer is so funny. And I'm like, oh, great. And I watched it. I didn't even smile once. Now, many, many times I've seen what I consider to be bad trailers and then I've really liked the movie. That happens. And hopefully because I am still going to go see it. Because I do like the cast, I do like the director, and I do like the premise. So even though I haven't liked the trailers, I am going to go see it because I have had some enthusiasm for this. And hopefully it'll turn out to be one of those situations where a movie with terrible trailers, at least I thought they were terrible, turns out to be a good movie. But I got to say, I'm not really looking forward to it, but I am going to take myself to go see it. Nathan Oswald writes, Jack and I will eat, hey, I'm hungry. You sure? I could eat the ass out of a dead rhinoceros. Well, shit, that's either. There are jokes about eating a rhinoceros ass in two movies that I can think of. One is Point Break. Gary Busey says a line like that. And then one is Apollo 13. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's one of those two films. I can't remember the exact wording of the joke in either one of those films, but I'm going to say it's one of those two films. It's one of those two. Okay. Brian Esparza writes, Inside Llewyn Davis is, in my opinion, Coen's most overlooked film and in their top 3 for me. Beautifully done and put Oscar Isaac on the map for me. Your thoughts? Oh, it is absolutely the movie that put him on the map. Absolutely is the movie that put him on the map, for sure. And it was a really nice, look, this is a testimony to how good the Coens films are. I'm not sure that I put that in, I'm not sure I put it in the top 3. But again, the fact that you've got a movie that's as good as Inside Llewyn Davis and you're not even sure if it makes it into the Coens top 3, that's a testimony to how good movies they make, right? But yeah, certainly one and an underappreciated one, Brian. It's a movie that more people need to see and check out. And if you are somebody who's interested in seeing more of what Oscar Isaac has done and what he's capable of, watch that movie because it's really quite good. All right. Stella McShave writes, what's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Oh, yeah. Well, Spaceballs. What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken? No, sir. I love that. Spaceballs, one of the all-time greats. Love that movie. I'm Upset writes, over under 15%, we see Flash and Cyborg again. Flash and Cyborg? Or Flash or Cyborg? Because I think there's still over a 15% chance. Look, I am starting to doubt that we're getting this Flash movie at all. But I would still take over 15%. I'm having my doubts, but I still believe over 15%, for sure. If you're asking if we will see Flash and Cyborg again, I'll take under. I don't think we're going to see them both, but I definitely, if you're asking either or, I think just even Flash alone, I think there's more than 15% chance that his movie gets made. Richard Karate writes, have you ever seen the show Luther with Idris Elba? If not, I recommend it. It's great. I mean, that's the thing. He is so... First of all, Idris Elba really got on the map with The Wire. Stringer, man. Stringer. And some of you are going, wait a minute, Idris Elba was in The Wire? Yeah, that's one of the reasons why everybody talks about it as being maybe the best television show ever made in history. You should check it out. And Idris Elba was in that. Obviously now MCU, then he was in The Office, then he was in a whole bunch of stuff. But Luther is one he probably gets his most critical acclaim for. He's got a new season coming out too. I've not had a chance to check it out because I don't watch a hell of a lot of television. I'm more of a movie guy. I do watch a bunch of TV, but I don't watch a hell of a lot, and that's something I need to get caught up on. But that's one everybody keeps saying that I know that have seen it, just raves about it. Javier Rios 405 writes, did Ann watch the NXT? By the way, guys, once again, Ann doesn't have an E on it, just so you know. Did Ann watch the NXT TakeOver Phoenix? It was a great show. Nope. She flew out there this morning to go and watch Royal Rumble tonight. So she wasn't there for NXT. She flew out there this morning to go and watch Royal Rumble today. Brian Esparza writes, did you survive Ann's wrath for the Hanks thing? No, Ann was totally good with it. Ann was totally fine with it. She was okay with it. She wasn't mad at me at all. So I'm still here and all my important parts are still where they're supposed to be, which is the most important thing. Richard Karate follows up with, do you think we'll get an Equalizer 3? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I don't think so. Which is too bad because I flat out love the first Equalizer. Love the first Equalizer. And I quite liked the second one. I didn't think the second one was as good as the first, but I thought it was quite good. However, I don't think it did the business that they were hoping it would do. Okay, so in perspective, domestically speaking, The Equalizer made $101 million domestically, made $102 domestically on the sequel, so $1 million difference. The first Equalizer was made for $55 million and made $192 million worldwide. Profitable. The second Equalizer was made for $62 million, but actually made less worldwide at $190. Still profitable by that much. But it's not what a studio likes to see. The production budget went up, not by a lot, but the box office went down, despite the fact that it was a pretty good movie. I think Denzel's done too. I think forget the studio for a second. I think Denzel will now look at this and go, okay, look, it's clear this franchise is not going to be John Wick. All right. It's not going to get the word of mouth John Wick is. It's not, I was hoping to see the first one makes 190 something. The second one makes 250 something. And that didn't happen. The box office actually went down. So forget the studio. I'm not even sure Denzel will want to go back to that. I think Denzel's probably going to be looking for some other things. To get more plugged into. So let's put it this way, Richard. I am totally down to see another Equalizer. I am personally totally down for another Equalizer. But do I think we'll get one? I don't think so. But again, Equalizer 2 wasn't a disaster. It didn't flop. So it's not like it's completely off the table. But my best guess right now is I don't think we're going to get another one. That's just a guess, though. I'm not putting anything on that, but that's my guess. All right, Richard Karate writes, for $50 million, would you rather fight The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell or fight Daniel Cormier in the Octagon? Oh, Daniel Cormier in the Octagon. Yeah, for sure. Because I'll survive, an uppercut from Daniel Cormier. I'll survive that. he gets me in a rear naked or an arm triangle or a Kimura or anything like that. No problem. Tap, done, good. See, Undertaker wants to throw you from 30 feet in the sky down to a concrete floor. And even though I watched Mankind take it, I'm not sure I can't survive that. I can't survive that. So, yeah, I'll take the deal to fight Daniel Cormier. It won't last long, but I'll take that deal. All right. Nathan Oswald writes, it's quite impressive that a movie can be so bad that Ballistic X versus Sever, Antonio Banderas, has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 117 reviews. It is a truly awful movie. Like, it's one of those movies that you watch and you're like, I'm convinced they made this up as they went along. You ever get that? Like, sometimes there are movies you watch and you go, I just have a feeling they just were trying to make this up as they were going along. I don't feel like they had any idea what they wanted to do. It's so badly conceived. Everything about it is so awful. So yes, Ballistic X versus Ever. Guys, if you've not, just go watch the trailer for it. I'm sure there's a lot of guys who haven't seen the movie. Count yourself lucky. But listen to what Nathan's saying. Go on YouTube and just look for the trailer of it. And you'll see it doesn't take a genius to go, yep, this is one I probably should not watch. Unless you're just in the mood to watch a truly horrible movie. And sometimes that's fun. That could be one for you for that. You're right, Nathan. It's tough to believe a movie like that could be made. Adam Beavers writes, hey, John, I know Seinfeld and Parks are your favorite. Mine, also The Office. Put The Office in there. Mine would be How I Met Your Mother. Awesome journey, and I really related to the show. Cuffed. I don't know what that is. I was not a How I Met Your Mother fan. It's very much in the same vein to me as Big Bang Theory. They're both shows that I've watched maybe in total about 5 episodes each, and they never did it for me. And all right, so they didn't do it for me. I know a lot of people, though, and Adam, you are not alone. I know a lot of people that live, breathe, and die by How I Met Your Mother. So, I know a lot of people that is a show that had a real impact on people. But again, it was just one that just never kind of clicked for me. Despite the fact they had some good Canadian kids in that show. Much like Big Bang Theory. Big Bang Theory never did it for me either. I never understood the appeal of Big Bang Theory. But How I Met Your Mother is, yeah, man. You're in good company, Adam, if that's one of your favorites. Because I know a lot of people that just adore that show. It's one of those things that I wish I liked more, but I don't. All right. Our friend Kevin Rubio writes, John, did you see some guy named Brad crash Lady Gaga's set last night in Vegas and sang Shallows with her? I think he has a future. I have not heard that. So Lady Gaga's got a residency right now, I believe, in Vegas. And I'm guessing Brad Pitt. Did Bradley Cooper get on stage and sing? Imagine being in the audience. Imagine being in the audience. And you're there to see Lady Gaga perform. And that's awesome. And then Bradley Cooper comes out on stage and sings that song with her. Come on, that's great. Now, I don't think Bradley Cooper's a great singer. When you listen to Shallows, you could tell he sang the relatively easier parts and he left all the remotely difficult parts for Lady Gaga to sing. But for a guy who's not a singer, he sings pretty well. For a guy who's not a singer, he sings pretty well. And I think that would just have been a hoot to be there. Reminds me, I had a friend who went to a Taylor Swift concert. And they weren't expecting it. Ed Sheeran came out and did a couple of songs with her. Like, it's just that little thing that was just really, really good. I remember a buddy of mine was at a U2 concert and B.B. King came out. When you get like just little surprises like that, I always think are great. Whether it's music or anything else, you get to be like, I was at the John Williams in concert show this past year or a few months ago, and I had no idea Steven Spielberg came out as a special guest. And Steven Spielberg came out for about 4 or 5 pieces of music to tell stories about that piece of music and to narrate and to set up the music and tell. I mean, it was awesome. It was awesome. So whenever people can have an experience like that, I always think it's great. All right. Rami J. Royster writes, a 4 hours Avengers would be a great movie. No. No, 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 no. I disagree with that completely. Wholeheartedly and completely. First of all, I think any notion that this movie should be 90 minutes, well, the only people who really know that are the filmmakers. The length does not make a movie better or worse by rule, right? It's not like just make that movie longer and it automatically gets better. No, it doesn't. That's just not true. Just make the movie shorter and it's automatically better. No, that's not true. That's not true. There are some movies that you watch and you're like, oh yeah, the DNA of this movie, man, you make this movie an hour and 35 minutes. Oh, it's going to smoke. It's going to have great pace and it's going to be perfect. But then there'd be another movie you can watch and go, okay, now this particular movie, prime. This movie needed more time to breathe and needed more of this. This movie at about 3.5 hours, blah, blah. But honestly, you're going to scare a lot of movie. Number one, I think a 4-hour movie just in general makes a movie worse. If you're not a good enough storyteller to tell your story in less than 3 hours, then there's a problem with you. That's just kind of how I feel. There are exceptions. There are exceptions. Absolutely, there are exceptions. But generally speaking, if you're a good filmmaker, and this is why making movies is so much harder than making television, because you got to tell your whole story in 2 hours. Television, you got 20 episodes, go. Or if it's on Netflix or something, you got 12 episodes, go. Take your time, take your time. In movies, you got to tell your story. You got to introduce the characters, set up the conflict, expound it out, and then bring it to resolution, and you got roughly 2 hours to do it. Give or take. But no, I reject this notion that just more equals better. That's not true. More does not automatically equal better. There are certain circumstances where it does. But like the first Avengers movie, as a 4-hour movie, it just would have been completely drawn out and it just would have lost all of its steam and it would have felt like you were dragging through muck. Same thing with Ultron. So, no, I disagree with you, Rami. I disagree with you on that, buddy. All right. Raymond Verrata writes, is it true Keanu is playing a John Wick toy of himself in Toy Story 4? Fan sites are citing a report from The Observer, which is not a major media site. If true, I call it first on your show. Oh yeah, no, we've been hearing that rumor for a while, Raymond. Look, what we do know is that he's doing a voice. That we've heard, and that I believe is true. I can't personally confirm it, but just all the places I'm seeing it, I believe that's true that he's doing a voice. Is he doing the voice of his brutally violent R-rated character? I don't know. You can, but that seems like a little bit of a stretch because none of the kids who are going to go see this movie have seen John Wick. At least very few of them. And by the way, not a lot of adults have seen John Wick. John Wick is not a big franchise. Look, the second, as you can say, oh yeah, not a lot of people saw the first John Wick, John, but everybody found it on a home video and it got really popular. Well, John Wick Chapter 2 made a grand total of $171 million worldwide. So is that the character you put him in? So I don't know. It's possible. But again, I think the two strikes against it are a brutally violent R-rated assassin character. Do you put that in Toy Story? The second thing is, not even a lot of the adults have seen John Wick. Because it didn't make that much. Even the sequel didn't make that much at the box office. So, I don't know. It's certainly possible. But for those reasons, Raymond, I have my doubts. But we'll see. Levy Road writes, have you watched Polar on Netflix yet? Not getting great reviews, but I enjoyed it. Kind of reminded me of Smoking Aces. No, but I've been dying to see that movie since I didn't even know it dropped. Both Robert and I have been dying to see this movie ever since they dropped those first trailers with Mads Mikkelsen. I mean, it looks awesome. I have not seen the reviews. I didn't know it dropped on Netflix yet, but I'm going to get myself to watch that because I think the trailer was magnificent. So here's my fingers crossed. I'm looking forward to seeing it. And I certainly hope it's better than Smoking Aces. Lawrence RBE writes, what if Captain Marvel bombs like A Wrinkle in Time? I don't think it will. If it does, I think Marvel will change course. What say you? Bring on the filthy. Why? What if the next 50 Shades makes $2 billion? Okay. What if Kermit the Frog becomes a real human being tomorrow and acts in movies? Can he win an Oscar? I mean, it's nobody believes for 1 second. Nobody anywhere believes for 1 second that Captain Marvel is going to flop. Nobody believes that. Nobody thinks that. The only question is, how much money would it make? That's the only question. The only question is, how much will it make? You know, it's going to be a hit. It's going to make over 500 million. Just, that's a given. The only question is, how much over 500 million will it make? I don't think it'll make $1 billion, but there are some people like Robert Meyer Burnett who believes it will hit $1 billion, and maybe it will. I'm thinking closer to 600, 700, 750 million dollars. I think is where it's going. But it is not. It's not going to flop. Okay, it's not going to flop. Again, you might as well have asked, what happens if tomorrow Kermit the Frog becomes a real human being, begins acting? Could he have Oscar chances? I mean, it's okay. And then as far as, okay, even if the inconceivable happened and Captain Marvel was a flop, do I think it'll make Marvel change course? Well, let's see. They've done 20 films in a row, 20 very profitable films in a row. Is one not profitable film going to make them change course? When just this past year, they had a $1.3 billion movie in Black Panther and a $2 billion movie in Avengers Infinity War, do I think one film that loses money will make them change course? No. No. That would be the most idiotic thing in the world. No. I mean, gosh, if you do 2 good films in a row and 2 successful films in a row and then one doesn't work, you shouldn't let that deter you. They've got like 20 plus films in a row of success after success, even the ones that I don't think are all that good, like Iron Man 2 or like some of the weaker ones like Thor the Dark World. Even them, you can't argue their success. They were successful. So no, that's not going to happen, dude. That's not going to happen. Javier Rios 405 writes, thoughts on 30 Rock? I loved 30 Rock. I thought 30 Rock was great. It was different. It was innovative. John Lithgow, of course, it was the big introduction to everybody for, why am I forgetting, why am I freezing on his name? Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It's what introduced everybody, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Let me back up. I got thinking Third Rock. Sorry. My mind got thinking on Third Rock. 30 Rock. Alec Baldwin. Yeah. 30 Rock. I liked 30 Rock. Not nearly as much as a lot of other people did, but I liked 30 Rock. It was funny. It was quick. Good characters. I thought it was funny. Funny show. Not one of my favorites, but funny. Sorry, I got my brain instantly locked on Third Rock, not 30 Rock. Sorry about that. Richard Karate writes, last question, John, I promise. What are your thoughts on the Daniel Day-Lewis movie, Last of the Mohicans? I love this movie. I love Last of the Mohicans. Madeline Stowe was also in that. Crazy. I believe it only got 1 Oscar nomination. I could be wrong. Let me know. But I think it got like 1 Oscar nomination for, and it was like sound or something like that. Let me check it out here. Last of the Mohicans. Yeah. It got nominated for Best Sound. Oh, and it won. It won for Best Sound. But it wasn't nominated for Best Picture. Daniel Day-Lewis didn't get a nomination for Best Actor. Madeline Stone didn't get a nomination for acting. It's a wonderful film. It's wonderful. And it's kind of crazy to think that it pretty much, other than 1 sound nomination, which it won, it was completely shut out of the Oscar, which is kind of crazy to me because it's a great movie. I like it a lot, Richard. Thanks for bringing that one up. All right. Travis Bickle from The Taxi Driver writes, hey, John, I know I'm in the minority, but I really enjoyed Green Lantern. Just watched it and I don't understand the hate. Am I missing something here? Well, no, look, film's subjective. Look, and by the way, I think Green Lantern is bad. But whereas most people count Green Lantern as this total and complete car wreck. I didn't think it was a total and complete car wreck. It was bad. It was a bad film. But I didn't think it was a total and complete car wreck either. I thought it had its upsides. I thought it had its good points. Not the least, I thought Ryan Reynolds was a great Hal Jordan. I really do. But I mean, look, it's not my job to convince you to like something that you don't. There's just a lot of things in that movie that were done a certain way that just pissed a lot of people off. I mean, the fart cloud, the way they handled, the villains and the head growing, and they just, and then, oh my God, probably maybe one of the worst post-credit scenes in history, where Mark Strong Sinestro was a good guy all throughout. Good guy, noble, good guy, noble. Wait, there's a yellow ring. Yeah, I want to be evil now. Like, just, it was a stupid post-credit scene. Yeah, but I can't sit here and go into a 2-hour-long treatise on Green Lantern, but yeah, that's why a lot of people didn't. Like, they just did a lot of things wrong. But I also think they did some things right that, at least for me, prevent it from being considered a total car wreck and just downgrade it to just a bad movie, at least to me. All right. Never mind, I still don't get likes, writes. Punisher first appearance was getting hired to kill Spider-Man. That's true. It'd be cool if they bring him in. They do it like that. Possibly. I don't know that. I don't think you're going to see them bring the Punisher into the MCU. At least, I don't see how they can do Punisher in the MCU in any way that makes the fans happy. You would have to have a very PG'd version of Punisher, and I don't think they're going to do that. So I don't know. I'm not saying they're not going to do it. Believe there's a big difference between me saying I don't think they'll do it and they're not doing it. I don't know that they're not going to do it, but I don't think they will. It just seems like too much of a stretch, because if you did do the PG-13 version of of Punisher, I think that's just going to piss a lot of people off. And yeah, I don't know. There is something poetic about that for sure, to do it that way, but I just don't think it's something that they're going to do. But who knows? I mean, as of right now, The Punisher still isn't canceled. As of right now, The Punisher is still not canceled on Netflix. We all know it's going to be canceled, but I thought it was going to be canceled like 24 hours after it dropped on Netflix. I thought they were going to announce the cancellation of Punisher, and they still haven't done it. So theoretically speaking, it might be staying on Netflix. Obviously, it's not, but it might. Who knows? Okay. Cornflakes writes, weird how people who are mad at the Spider-Man trailer out before Endgame are the ones who knew he was coming back anyways. I know. That is the thing that just made me want to smack my head more than anything else. Was like, all you people complaining that they put out a Spider-Man trailer are the same ones you specifically already knew he was coming back. What's the problem here? I still don't get it. Guess what? Avengers Infinity War came out after Black Panther, right? But they were putting out trailers of Infinity War with Black Panther in the trailers before the Black Panther movie came out. I didn't hear anybody complaining, now we know Black Panther survives. Now we know he stays King of Wakanda. Now we know. Nobody was complaining about that. Well, because you knew the good guy was going to win, and you knew he was going to be King of Wakanda, and you knew all that kind of... We knew Spider-Man was coming back. We knew they were all coming back. So and you're right. It is particularly funny that it's the people who are complaining about it are primarily the ones who already knew he was coming back. So clearly they were just looking for something to complain about. Anyway, Javier Rios 405 writes, have you finally seen the last episode of Runaways? Nope. And I can't do it today either because I cannot watch it without Anne. That would get me in trouble. So earliest I'll be able to watch it probably is tomorrow. I mean, it's funny. I got through the entire season and then we've just gotten stalled on the last one. We just haven't had time to sit down and watch something together. It's been really unfortunate. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. Froygon Jin writes, I hope Marvel gets John Woo to direct Shang-Chi. I miss seeing doves fly in slow motion. Tough ask. A lot of people did not like his Incredible Hulk turn. So I'm not sure he would want to come back to it, and I'm not sure the studio would want to go back to him on that either. I mean, maybe, maybe not. I would certainly be intrigued But yeah, I'm not even sure that John Woo would want to do it. I'm not sure that John Woo would want to do it. Dropkick Aggie writes, worse, Battlefield Earth, but everyone was wearing Iron Spider suits, or Catwoman, but in back of scene, the two characters from 50 Shades are boning. I will go Battlefield Earth on that. God, but these are those are two of the unholy trinity of the worst films ever made and wide released by major studios. Battlefield Earth, Catwoman, and the third member of that unholy trinity is, of course, Highlander 2, The Quickening. 3 worst movies ever made and put in wide release by studios, in my humble opinion. So both of those are ass awful, but I will lean Dropkick Aggie a little bit more towards the Battlefield Earth with Iron Spider suits. Intriguing situation you set up there. Koba writes, do you think they will ever reboot the old Sinbad movies? Great adventure films with great monster action. I was funny. I'm not going to say a few weeks ago, but like maybe last year sometime, a buddy of mine and I were actually talking about how Hollywood is looking for, the conversation started with Warner Brothers is looking for their follow-up to Harry Potter, right? And then we start talking about how that conversation kind of evolved into Hollywood is looking for the next great, not necessarily action, but adventure series. Hollywood hasn't had a great adventure series in a while, right? Not like Indiana Jones is not really a great adventure series. And I remember Sinbad came up because we start talking about older IPs and things like that. Now, I don't know if right now there's a fear that it would be too closely associated with like a Pirates of the Caribbean, which is possible, I guess. But I mean, for me, that if I'm the head of a studio, Koba, I'm considering that because I think there's a lot of rich potential there, and you can do almost anything with it. So I think there's some potential there, but again, I suspect that maybe there's a little bit of hesitancy because of its. Maybe some people would just compare it with Pirates, but who knows? Pirates is crap now anyway. So, the Kasan just sends in a super chat. Thank you, Kasan. I appreciate that, man. Ben Hayusa writes, so Roman Reigns has been cast in Hobbs and Shaw to play Hobbs' brother in the movie. I didn't know it was Hobbs' brother, but talked about this a little bit on yesterday's open mic. Roman Reigns, the WWE wrestler, because a couple of pictures have come out, is going to be in Hobbs and Shaw, and I guess now Roman Reigns in real life is a cousin to The Rock. I can't remember if they're first cousins or second cousins, but they're related. Now, Roman Reigns, it's a good story. He was a guy who struggled with a form of cancer, overcame it, went on and continued on his big, very successful career in the WWE, and then a number of months ago, he had to leave the WWE because his cancer stuff had come back again. So, I mean, he made a great speech. I watched the speech. He said, I'm going to go kick its ass again, and then I'll be right back. I mean, it was a great speech. It was a great speech. And so it's great to see him still being able to, because you can do acting, you can get on front of the camera, and I hope he's good. Look, they're not going to give him any heavy lifting to do acting-wise. But he's this big, muscular dude, actually related to Dwayne Johnson. I think it's cool. The guy who, is fighting cancer right now, I think it's cool. I think it's a cool story. I like it. Don't give him heavy thespian work to do, but I think there are ways, especially in a Fast and Furious movie, you can make that work. So I think it's a cool story. I'm looking forward to that. All right. The Kasan writes, did you watch NHL All-Star Weekend? No, I didn't. I didn't watch the All-Star Weekend. Yeah, even in Canada, I'm a hockey guy, period. But even when I lived in Canada, honestly, All-Star stuff hasn't really excited me since I was a kid. I don't think any All-Star games are any fun. Baseball's All-Star game is a little fun because you can go, other than charging the plate, you can go all out and try your hardest in a baseball game because you're not hurting each other. Like the NFL Pro Bowl, who watches the NFL Pro Bowl? The NHL All-Star game, it wasn't even real hockey because they wouldn't hit each other. So it's like, I didn't pay much attention to it. I saw that my boy, Sidney Crosby, won the All-Star MVP. Awesome. He and I were born in the same city. I think his mom and my mom went to the same school, I believe. But anyway, let's see. Toby Miller writes, With the trailers for Umbrella Academy and The Boys coming out, I really think you should watch the British superhero film Misfits. You're missing out. Well, I mean, here's the thing. There's so much television today, which is good. I mean, it's a great thing that there's so much great quality television being put out by multiple, like before there used to be 3 networks, you got to watch one of their shows. Now there's like dozens and dozens of bodies that make some shows and make some great shows. There's just so much you can't watch them all. And watching a series isn't like watching a movie. Like, I can sit down and watch that Ted Bundy documentary today in 2 hours, and I'm done. A series? You got to commit 10, 11, 12, 15 hours to do. I mean, there's just not a lot of time for it. And I'm sure that means there is a lot of good television that I'm missing out on. I'm sure there is. But you got to be a little selective about what you watch and what you don't. Now, I'm not real familiar with Misfits. But look, it's like anything else, Toby. If I get enough people telling me to watch something, I'll probably break down. You know me. I'll probably eventually break down and start watching it. But, I mean, we've all got X amount of time in our days that we have available to us to use. And there's just so much television right now that I just get overwhelmed at the thought of it. I mean, my God, I haven't even started watching Punisher Season 2 yet. There's just too much. There's too much. It's tough. But yeah, I mean, it looks like there's some really cool stuff coming out though, man. And again, if I get enough people telling me Misfits, I'll probably break down and give it a shot. Thanks for putting that on my radar, man. All right. Gifford Confirmed writes, Topher Grace was left depressed after playing David Duke in BlacKkKlansman. To cheer up, he edited the Hobbit trilogy into a single 2-hour movie. And you know what? Topher Grace did something like that with the Star Wars prequels. There's this amazing Hollywood story told and whispered in the shadows, but I know people have seen it. So that Topher Grace took the prequels and edited them down into one movie and made it infinitely better by taking the whole trilogy, editing it down to like 1 2-hour movie. And I can't remember what they called it or anything, but the whispers, the urban legend, if you will, of the Topher Grace thing. It's gone around Hollywood for a long time, and it was only ever like screened once. He booked a little screening room, had a bunch of people come and watch it. And then just like that, like a whisper, it was gone. So I didn't hear about the Hobbit thing, but I have very little doubt that that's probably true. That he probably did pull that Hobbit thing. I wouldn't doubt that one little bit. All right. Let's see. Roman Bryant writes, most satisfying villain death. Ooh, I don't know off the top of my head. Don't know off the top of my head. Obviously, the Emperor in Return of the Jedi was really, really satisfying. Hans Gruber's death was really satisfying. But I mean, that's a great question, Roman, but it's something I'd have to sit down and make a big list out. What about you guys? What are some of your favorite, most satisfying villain deaths? Jump into the comment section and leave your thoughts. Ooh, Scar as well in Lion King. That was, even as a kid, I'm like, yeah, that's satisfying. That's pretty satisfying. All right. James Peter writes, finally saw the movie Upgrade, and all I could think was, this is a better Venom movie than the actual Venom movie. I don't know. Like I thought Upgrade, let's put it this way. I thought Upgrade was a very good action movie while being a modestly good movie. Do you know what I mean by that? When I say that? Like, you guys know what I'm saying, right? Like, it was a very good action movie that was a modestly good movie. I certainly didn't get a lot of heart out of Upgrade. Like, Venom to me had on top of like a lot of wild stuff, it had charm, and there were parts of it that had heart, and it had great character. And to me, the heart of Venom, and what really makes Venom work, is that dynamic between the symbiote and Eddie, and that chemistry and that dynamic at play is what makes it really thoroughly entertaining. When there wasn't action going on the screen in Upgrade, although it has a very, very good science fiction twist kind of ending sort of thing that I appreciated, I did. But when the crazy action wasn't going on, I found with Upgrade there wasn't a lot to hang on to. In Venom, even when there wasn't crazy action going on, there was a number of other elements to hang on to as an audience member. Now, that's just now I know a number of people, James, that also prefer Upgrade over Venom, and that's totally fine. I happen to prefer Venom over Upgrade for those reasons. Just purely action, was the action in Upgrade better than Venom? Yes. Yes, it was. I have no qualms saying that. I'm with you on that. But overall, as a total package, I thought Venom was a more satisfying package. But that's me. Everybody's going to have a different opinion on that completely. That just happens to be mine. Thanks for sharing that, James. All right. Dustin Rutledge writes, will Kylo be the big bad in episode 9, or will there be an even greater villain? Maybe Snoke's presence is still felt in episode 9, even though he's dead. I don't think so. It's not something that I, as a fan, am willing to dismiss out of hand, Dustin. But I do believe he is. I mean, look, I think it would be a misstep if he's not the big villain in episode 9. That's what you've been building towards. That's what I keep wanting to say the Phantom Menace instead of The Force Awakens. That's what The Force Awakens was pointing us to. That's what The Last Jedi continued on with. And it's all set up for him to truly be the big bad guy of episode 9. I think it would be a misstep if they didn't. But who knows what JJ has in mind. JJ may have a great idea in mind that doesn't go in that direction, but I would suspect, at least at any rate, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. I'm just saying I suspect that Kylo will be the big bad in episode 9. I don't think for the final chapter, you just now bring in somebody out of nowhere and say, now I'm the big bad. Like, just bring them in out of nowhere when you've got all these other established characters. I don't know. That seems like it would feel awkward. But again, JJ may have a brilliant idea for it. We'll have to see. But again, I suspect it will be Kylo. All right, Dustin follows it up with, if episode 9 ties all 3 trilogies together, how do you think episode 9 will tie into the prequels? Palpatine, Plagueis, Anakin, all 3. I don't know. There seems to be a very, very strong undercurrent at Lucasfilm to reference the prequels as little as possible. And they've pretty much stuck to that. I mean, in the first 2 movies, there have been a couple of vague references to the prequels, but nothing much beyond that. You know, like in The Last Jedi, sure, there's a line where Luke goes, it was the Jedi Council that allowed somebody right under their nose to become talking about his father, of course. But other than that, they've pretty much seemed to have a policy of avoiding it altogether. Therefore, again, I suspect we're not going to see a big tie-in with the prequels. I don't suspect it, because that just seems to be the way they've handled it up till now. So I don't know that there's any real reason to suspect they'll change directions on that. At least I hope they don't. You know me, I completely hate the prequels. I don't want them referencing it, but I suspect they'll at least reference something in the prequels, much like they did in The Last Jedi, but I don't think it's going to be much more beyond that. Okay, guys, here's what I'm going to do right now. I have run out of liquid, and if I'm not constantly, because you know I still have a little bit of a cough, I need to replenish my liquid, so I'm going to take a 2-minute intermission here, guys. So for those, because we've been going for an hour and 20 minutes now, you guys want to run, take a bathroom break, now's a good time. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and then we will be right back and continuing on with the rest of our questions. I'll be right back, guys. And we are back. Thank you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen, as we take a little bit of a break. Our weekend open mics seem to go much longer now, so it seems like a quick, short intermission for a bathroom break and refilling up the old liquid is in order. So that's what we did, and now we are back. So let's get things rolling again here and get back to the questions. Okay, we're going over now to Royce Freeman, who writes, as a person of faith, are there any films about film you like? I'm assuming, Royce, you mean, are there any films about faith that I like? It's really weird. I have never liked any faith-based films. I really haven't. I honestly cannot think of any faith-based films I've ever thought were anything other than trivially garbage. I think they're all terrible. I think they're all awful. Just really, really terrible stuff. But anyway, that's me. I've always felt that way. Ever since I was like 20, I've always felt that way, and I still kind of do today, unfortunately. All right. Dustin follows up with, over under 50% that Force Ghost Luke uses a lightsaber in episode 9. If Force Ghost Yoda burns down a tree, Luke can surely use a lightsaber as a Force Ghost, right? I mean, look, the interesting thing about that conversation, that confrontation, really, between Yoda and Luke, which I thought, oh, God, there are things I really don't like about The Last Jedi, but there are things that I loved, and that scene, I just ate that up. If I could buy a 10-foot by 6-foot huge poster to hang on a wall of that shot of Luke and Yoda from behind them as they look at the burning fire, oh my God, I would hang that up on the front of my house. I would put that in the front of my house for the whole world. I love that image. And I love that conversation, that confrontation between Luke and Yoda. It's not even, the more applicable thing, Dustin, isn't even that Yoda called down lightning. It's that he physically hit Luke with a stick, I believe. Didn't he give him a whap with a stick? It's like, oh, wait a minute. Now, again, we should have known this. Because if Force Ghosts can't have any physical interaction with something, why was Obi-Wan able to sit down on the log in Empire Strike or in Return of the Jedi with Luke? Remember that? He comes out of the Dagobah swamp, and Luke's like, Obi-Wan. And they sit down and tell him about his father. Well, what I told you was true from a certain point of view. Stop bullshitting me, Obi-Wan. What I told you was true from a certain point. And they sit down on... How does a Force Ghost sit down on a log? We should have known that. How does a Force Ghost sit down on a log? Anyway. So that was our first hint that Force Ghosts can have interaction with physical matter. Here's the thing. I am still holding, while all the facts are pointing against this, I'm still holding on to a 5% hope that Luke is actually still alive. There was nothing in The Last Jedi that definitively said Luke is dead. Nothing in The Last Jedi definitively said that. Now, I know all the signs actually point to that, and that's why I'm saying, 95% sure he's dead, but I'm still holding on to that 5% chance that maybe he's still alive. You could explain it. There are many ways to explain it, him still being alive. But let's go with the 95% chance that he's dead. Okay, so let's say that's the case. Could Luke actually wield a lightsaber in episode 9? Well, I mean, look, if Yoda can wield a stick, then Luke can wield a lightsaber. Doesn't seem very fair, though, considering what's anybody else going to do to him? Like, he's a ghost. The lightsaber's just going to go right through him. What are stormtroopers going to go? Pew, 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 and the lasers just go through him. What's it? It's not fair. It's not a fair fight. Hard to say, man. I'll go under 50%, but it's definitely a possibility. It's absolutely a possibility. But for now, I'll go under 50% on that. But it's a good question. I would rather see a living Luke with a lightsaber, but who knows? Maybe they'll go that way. Royce Freeman writes, Films about faith. Oh, yeah, Royce, I picked up on that. Don't you worry about it. I picked up on that. Films about faith. I understood. Green Arrow 7 writes, Jake Gyllenhaal snubbed at Oscars for Nightcrawler. Well, here's the thing. I remember that debate. Let's see here. I remember that debate going on at the time, especially about that. So Nightcrawler was nominated for Best Original Screenplay. It was nominated for Best Original Screenplay for Dan Gilroy. Now, here's the thing, though. The Oscar category was ridiculous that year. Eddie Redmayne for The Theory of Everything. And let's face it, he was going to win that year from that. The only other question was Michael Keaton for Birdman, but it was either going to be Eddie Redmayne or Michael Keaton. Nothing else. Jake wasn't going to beat either of them. Let's just be clear about that. But you had Eddie Redmayne from Theory of Everything, Michael Keaton's Birdman. You had Benedict Cumberbatch's The Imitation Game, which, by the way, was brilliant. Brilliant. Then you had Steve Carell for Foxcatcher and Bradley Cooper in American Sniper. It was a stacked category. No, I do not believe Jake Gyllenhaal was snubbed. Could he have gotten in? Yes. Would I have been all for him getting in? Sure. But snub implies there is absolutely no rationale that that person should. I'm sorry, when you look at who is in there, there is rationale for him not getting in. Would I have nominated him? Yes, I would have. But number one, he was never going to win. It was either going to be Eddie Redmayne or it was going to be Michael Keaton that year. So let's be clear about that. So if somebody didn't even have a real chance of winning, I don't think you can call it a snub anyway. But on top of that, the other guys were Benedict for Imitation Game, in which he was brilliant in, Steve Carell in Foxcatcher, which might have been his best performance ever, and then Bradley Cooper in American Sniper, that a lot of people think was Bradley Cooper's best performance ever. So, was I surprised that Jake Gyllenhaal wasn't nominated? Yeah. But no, I'm not going to say he was snubbed. People use the word snub way too easily. People throw around the word snub way too easy. Snub implies an egregious omission. And to me, unless you had a legitimate shot at winning, not getting nominated is not an egregious omission. And there was no way he or any of these other guys were going to win other than Eddie Redmayne or other than Michael Keaton for Birdman. It was going to be one of those two. So, no, while Jake Gyllenhaal was brilliant and I totally would have supported his nomination, I will not say it was a snub. I think that would be applying the term snub way too loosely, I think, in this particular circumstance at any rate. But he was great in it. He was certainly great. Let's see. Javier Rios 405 writes, Mark Strong was great in Kick-Ass. Let's be clear. Mark Strong is great in everything. Even that awful one he did with, Borat. What's Borat's? Sacha Baron Cohen. You remember where it was the English soccer hooligan? That one and the two of them were brothers. Mark Strong was even great in that. Mark Strong is great in everything, which is one of the reasons that I don't know why more people aren't talking about, like, we're all excited for Shazam. Why are more people not talking about, when talking about Shazam, the fact that Mark Strong's in there? That to me is kind of what takes it up a notch for me and why I'm so excited about it. But yes, he was great in Kick-Ass for sure. Dustin follows up. Your secret spy, they gave you the Snoke spoiler before The Last Jedi release. What details are they giving on episode 9? We're dying to know, John. Honestly, nothing. I have no secret details on episode 9. I have no secret details on episode 9. For those of you who don't know what Dustin's talking about 6 months before Last Jedi came out, it might have been even a little bit longer than that. I'm trying to remember exactly, but at any rate, I had somebody connected to the production of the movie tell me that not only does Snoke die in the second film, but that Kylo Ren kills him. So what I did was I told everybody, I've got this bombshell, a piece of information that I knew because it was somebody who was connected to the production of the movie. I knew 100% for sure it was true. And I said, but I could not share that. I mean, that's just too big of a spoiler. I couldn't share that with anybody. So I said, it's huge, but I'm going to tell you what. And I remember I was doing a mailbag episode, and I believe I had Josh McCouga with me. And I said, I'll tell you what, I am going to tell Josh McCouga, and only Josh McCouga, this spoiler. I'm going to tell it to him so that he can confirm for you guys later that's what it was. And I told Josh, and even Josh didn't believe me when I first told him. But anyway, no, honestly, Dustin, I have no such information about, I am completely in the dark right now when it comes to Star Wars Episode 9. Absolutely no idea, none. But because it's Star Wars, if I do come across something like that, I will let you guys know. I won't tell you what it is. But honestly, I got nothing. I got nothing right now. I really don't. And I'm kind of glad that I don't. Karat writes, if a movie flops financially at the box office but wins an Oscar, do the studios consider it a win? It really all depends on what they want to do, right? Number one, winning an Oscar, look, a lot of people way overestimate how much money home video makes for studios. Like everybody thinks, oh, it's just as much as it makes. No, it's not. It's not. But when your movie gets Oscar buzz, it can have a pretty big effect on how much money that movie will then make in its post-release life. Be it digital releases or Blu-ray sales or whatever, there's a big push that comes from that. Also, does the studio ever want to consider doing a sequel? Make the movie pay for itself even more by having more of them. And if it's really well received, let's try making another one. So, like I've always said, if you have a movie that flops, you can try doing a sequel as long as it's really well received. And if it's really well received, go ahead, do a sequel, because you might get, if it's well received, more people may come to the next one. It's not a guarantee, but they might. So there's a lot of asterisks there, Karat, about, does it flop financially? Wins an Oscar? Means it's going to get more money. It's going to get more money. How much more money? Up for debate. But it also opens a door that maybe they might want to consider franchising it. But there are two as well. I mean, it's a business. It is. But these studio execs are also human beings. And they like to win. And believe me, there are studio execs that just love, for their studio, this is a prestige thing. Our studio won Best Picture. It's a real thing. And that might even be worth some money to them. A good example of that is when I told AMC that I didn't want to do press junkets anymore because we weren't getting anything out of it. It was a waste of our time and energy and effort. It was costing us money. And we were getting these interviews with the movie stars that maybe 800 people would watch. It was not worth it. AMC as a company, though, and it was their money, they were like, but it's a prestige thing. AMC liked the fact that, hey, we have an interview with Nicole Kidman. Hey, we have an interview with Robert Downey Jr. Hey, we have an interview with Anthony Hopkins, all of which are people I interviewed for AMC. And there was something to them just for the fact that it was a prestige thing. So they weren't happy with me when I said we weren't going to do them anymore, but whatever. So I'm sure that there's probably a little bit of that with the studios as well. Yeah, there's a prestige thing. They want to win. They love their business. They'd like to take that home. Maybe their movie didn't make any money, but hell, we're going to win Best Picture. I mean, yeah, there's something to that. I think there's something to that. All right. Toonie2 writes, John Campea, a Star Wars question. Can you call it, you can call it a Star Wars question, John Campea. Over under 40% a Star Wars movie in theaters in 2020. Ooh. 40%, huh? %. All right. Remember how I told you? I feel bad about this. Do you remember how I told you that I have no insider information about Star Wars Episode 9? Remember? And I don't. I have no inside information about Star Wars Episode 9. But Star Wars Celebration is coming up, and I'm not supposed to say this, but I'll let you guys know right now. And I'm not into breaking scoops or anything, but I'll tell you this right now. they are announcing the Obi-Wan movie at Star Wars Celebration this year. They are announcing the Obi-Wan movie at Star Wars Celebration this year, and it will come out in 2020. And by the way, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. That was totally a joke. They're not announcing an Obi-Wan movie at Star Wars Celebration. They are not actually this. I got to see now. I'm about on a 30-second delay. I got to see what you guys are going to say about this. They are announcing the Obi-Wan movie at Star Wars Celebration this year. Okay, so I just said it on the live stream. So I'm just watching to see how you guys react to me saying that they are doing a. Okay, yeah. So no, just kidding. Just kidding. Don't take that and run with it. I was just kidding. They are not doing it. Don't hate me for that. That was just set up too perfectly. That question was set up too perfectly. You got to give me a break. I had to have a little bit of fun with you guys. So no, they are not doing it. Anyway, 40%. I'm going to take the under, and here's why I'm going to take the under. But by the way, I'm not. Oh, I got some of you guys upset with me. Anyway, I'm not going to put it past Lucasfilm. I'm not going to put it past Lucasfilm to surprise everybody with a big announcement because, hey, what has been one of our criticisms of Star Wars Celebration? They don't actually break anything at Star Wars Celebration. Like, we suspect they're going to show a trailer. Okay, so they show a trailer, but they don't give any big announcements. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't put it past, pardon me, I wouldn't put it past Lucasfilm this year to announce a 2020 movie that we didn't see coming. I wouldn't put it past them. But I'm going back to something Bob Iger said a couple of months ago. And Bob Iger said, oh, we're still moving forward with all of our Star Wars movies. Yeah. But I think you're going to see us take our foot off the gas a little bit because I think Bob Iger, he was the one pushing movie every year. And I don't think they'll ever go back to one movie every 3 years, but I think you're going to see them, because of what Bob Iger said about taking his foot off the gas, I think you're going to see it slow down a little, like maybe 2 movies every 3 years, as opposed to a movie every single year. So I will take the under 40%. I will take the under 40% that a Star Wars movie comes out in 2020. But I wouldn't take under 20. Let's be clear. I wouldn't take, if you set the line at 20%, I would take the over, but at 40%, I'll take the under. So that's just my guess right now. So sorry I got you guys going on that. I'm sorry. I just had to have a little bit of fun. Sorry about that. All right. Roman Bryant writes, all these video game movies coming out, but where is my GTA movie? Damn it. I mean, listen, I've had a lot of discussion. I've heard a lot of discussions about Grand Theft Auto, but what do you do with how do you make that a movie? You know? I ain't saying you can't. I'm not saying you can't. But I just have I have a feeling, and you could make a great one, but I just have a feeling that if they do a GTA movie, it'll be much like the Need for Speed movie, which, by the way, I liked Need for Speed. But it was kind of based on the video game, but really its own thing. And I have a feeling if they did a GTA movie, it would probably be that. It's called GTA. It'll have a bunch of elements that are in GTA, but not really following any of the story of GTA. And maybe that's the right way to go. I don't know. But also, with all video game movies sucking, you know, and I'm trying to remember the name of the company behind Grand Theft Auto. I don't think it's is Rockstar Games behind Grand Theft Auto? I can't remember, but they may want to go, look, we've got a valuable property in Grand Theft Auto. And if we make a movie about it, it might just damage our property. It might just damage our franchise. So let's not make a movie out of it. So that could be part of it too. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but that could be part of it too. Is that they don't want, like, video game movies suck. I thought the most recent Tomb Raider was okay. But an okay movie might be the best video game movie ever made. Video game movies suck. And knowing that, because I do believe that horrible Assassin's Creed movie hurt the Assassin's Creed brand. Didn't kill it, but I think it hurt it. And maybe like the company behind GTA is just like, nah, let's not hurt our brand. We got a good thing going. Let's not make that mistake. But then again, I'm just guessing. Timothy Gandron writes, I loathe young adult books and movies, but I thought Mortal Engines was great. Decent story that wasn't contrived and cool action. Why did it fail so? Oh, because a lot of us, hey, dude, that's awesome that you enjoyed it. I'm happy that you got enjoyment out of it, but I thought it was terrible. It had a couple of moments of action, but that doesn't make a movie good. I thought it was a horrible story with this terrible little twist at the end that was just badly done. Following characters they never made us care one squirt of piss about. And it was just all over the place. And again, I hate saying that because I love Peter Jackson, but I really felt they completely dropped the ball on that. And the fact that it didn't look all that good to a lot of people hurt, but the fact that then people saw it and critics saw it and everybody said it's bad killed it. Absolutely killed it. And I was hoping for better. You had a very interesting premise there, but it just kind of fell apart. But again, this is me telling it to you from my perspective. That is not meant to replace your perspective. You had a good time with it, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters. You enjoyed it and had a good time with it, and you don't need to defend that, and you don't need me to agree with you. You enjoyed it, and that's awesome. And your perspective on that and your opinion on that is no less and no more valid than mine. So good on you for enjoying it. But for the rest of us, all I can say is it just fell apart. I never once felt that movie had a sense of what its identity was. And it just became tripe. I don't know. It's hard to put into words too much, but I've already talked too much about Mortal Engines today as it is, but I'm glad you liked it, Timothy, and that's all that matters. Who cares what I think? ZOMG Ruler writes, Cavill could be in other films, but Solo Superman. But then here's the problem, ZOMG Ruler. Warner Brothers just came out and said they're moving away from shared cinematic universe. So, on the one hand, they have no plans for a standalone Superman movie. And then on the other hand, they don't have plans to cross over superheroes into each other's movies. So where does that leave Superman? I don't know. Anything can happen, but just from what they're saying, it doesn't sound hopeful. Roman Bryant writes, if Marvel reboots Daredevil, please say there is a chance Vincent can come back as Fisk. I know reboots are supposed to start over, but man, he was so perfect. Well, see, here's the thing though, Roman. Vincent D'Onofrio was great as that particular incarnation of Kingpin, right? But there are other incarnations of Kingpin you can do for which Vincent may not be the right fit for. Like, for instance, the Kingpin we got, forget the gargantuan size, but the Kingpin we got in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which was great. I love that Kingpin was great. Forget the size of him. That's not the point. Vincent D'Onofrio wouldn't be the best fit for that particular Kingpin, right? So, and it shouldn't be about the actor first. It should be about the character first. First, the character. Then get the actor that fits the character that you're making. And you know me, I think Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin should be up there in the conversation with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Chris Evans as Captain America, Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. I believe Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin deserves to be right up there. But if you reboot this thing, you're going to have your own Kingpin. You're going to have your unique Kingpin. It's not going to be the exact same character that they had in the Netflix series. Therefore, does Vincent D'Onofrio still become your best choice? Maybe not. Maybe not. So it might not be the best thing at all. Not to mention, I think it would just confuse a lot of issues. Like, wait a minute, I thought this was a reboot, but it's still him as Kingpin. Like, I think you move on. There are other great actors, and there are other ways to portray a character that'll fit that way they're going to portray their hero in whatever way they do it. So, hey, look, if they announce tomorrow that Vincent D'Onofrio is going to continue to play Kingpin in some new incarnation of Daredevil, I'm not going to complain. Certainly not. But movies are not there to serve the actors. Actors are there to serve the movie and the narrative. You start with your movie, you start with your narrative, then you get the best actor. You don't go, well, let's just bring that actor over and build everything else around that. That's the wrong approach, I think. So, I'm going to guess no. I think I don't think we're going to see Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin again. I don't think. And that's a shame. It's a shame. But if you're rebooting, then reboot. Yeah, none of this kind of half reboot kind of stuff. But that's just my thoughts on it. Hector Jeter writes, Brody's got friends in every town and village from here to Sudan. He speaks a dozen languages, knows every local custom. He'll blend in, disappear. Of course, from the best, in my opinion, the best Indiana Jones movie, The Last Crusade. That is one of the best edit cut comedy bits I've ever seen in any movie ever. By what I mean by that is something happens, and then quick cut to something, and that's the edit itself is the gag. That moment in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is one of the funniest moments ever in a movie because you've got Indy saying, Brody's got friends in every town and village from here to the Sudan. He speaks a dozen languages, knows every local custom. He'll blend in, he'll disappear. And then quick cut edit to Brody. Hello, does anybody speak English? It is one of the most freaking hilarious things, I mean, that Spielberg has ever done, greatest filmmaker of all time, that the Indiana Jones franchise, that almost any movie, that gag utilizing the quick edit was maybe the best example of that ever in history. Maybe the best example of that ever in history. I love that line. I love that scene. Thanks for bringing it up, Hector. BZ820 writes, can you see Trevante Rhodes as John Stewart, Green Lantern, if we get Green Lantern? You know me. I don't care. You guys continue to ask me all the time, John, should this actor play this? My opinion is it a good actor? That's all I care about. That's all I care about. You could have any one of 50 actors could be good. So, I mean, I don't like to answer those questions. So as long as it's a good actor, that's fine. But John, what about good fit? Well, we can't know that. Only the writers and the directors will know if it's a good fit. We have no idea how they're writing the character. So from a fan's point of view, from the outside looking in, as long as you put in a good actor, it's good with me, and I'm fine with that. Michael Soleric writes, was going to see Glass, but decided to see Spider-Man again. I think I made the right choice. Just had to see it on the big screen again. Dude, it is never the wrong time, and it is never the wrong decision to go and watch Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse again. I went to go see it again last night with Erin Cummings. She had never seen it. I just get more and more joy out of every time. This movie that I didn't even think they should make. This movie that the first trailer came out, it's like, I don't like the animation style. This doesn't look any good. Why are they making this movie? That was me. And then I saw the movie and like, what the hell? It's so good. I'm telling you, third best movie of the year, in my opinion. You made, as they would say, as the knight, the Templar in Indiana Jones and Last Crusade would say, you chose wisely. You chose wisely, my friend. Okay. JCL Productions writes, reserve seating, great right. Why the heck did, for the third time, someone sit in my seat? They look at me all crazy like it's not a big deal. Yeah, I can tell you, look, I don't know what your experience has been, JCL, but I can tell you this. It's the easiest fix in the world, and it's never happened to me. I have never, ever gone into a theater and had somebody sitting in my seat. Never happened. But I know this, if you did go into a theater and somebody was sitting in your seat, it is the easiest fit in the world. We're in row H. This is seat 17. Here's my ticket. Row H, seat 17. It's the easiest fix in the world. There's not even a debate. There's no discussion to be had. That it's happened to you 3 times is unfortunate, but it's the easiest thing in the world to fix. It's not a difficult thing to fix. And if somebody refuses to get out of your seat, well, then you just grab an usher and say, look, I got H17, somebody's sitting in my seat. They'll come and they'll fix the problem. It's not an issue. It's not an issue, not a big deal. Connor Dixon writes, have you seen Noel Gallagher from British band Oasis support U2? So glad Black Panther has been nominated. Didn't like the film, but it's a step forward. Okay, you're kind of going all over the place, so I'll take the Black Panther part. That's what I'm telling people right now. Look, everybody knows I do not believe Black Panther deserved a nomination for Best Picture. Right? The Academy didn't think it was good enough to get a Best Director nomination, to get a Best Screenplay nomination, to get a Best Cinematography nomination, to get a Best Lead Actor nomination, to get a Supporting Actor nomination, to get a Best Lead Actress nomination, or get a Best... It got no other major nominations. That's only happened one other time in 10 years. In the last 89 movies to be nominated for Best Picture, of the last 89 movies to be nominated for Best Picture, 87 of them had at least one other nomination in the other major categories. Except Black Panther. However, so just to be clear, I don't think that Black Panther should have been nominated for Best Picture. It's simply not good enough. However, while we can have this debate for years to come, at least it's a great movie. Like, at least they didn't pick some piece of crap movie and put it up for Best Picture. Black Panther is a great movie that I enjoy thoroughly. And can we table the debate for now about did the right movie get nominated? Let's table that. It's a discussion we can have for the next few years. And it's a good debate and discussion to have. But for right now, between now and when the Oscars actually happen, can we as comic book fans and comic book movie fans just celebrate that a comic book movie got nominated for Best Picture? Up until last year, no comic book movie had never been nominated for the major category Best Screenplay. Logan got that nomination. Excellent. Up until this year, no comic book movie's ever been nominated for Best Picture. Black Panther got it this year. Yes, I get it. There is a debate to have about whether the right movie got nominated, but can we just, at least between now and the Oscars, just be happy that a comic book movie got nominated, and at least be grateful that it's a truly great comic book movie and not some piece of garbage? Black Panther's great. Got nominated for Best Picture. I don't think the right movie got nominated. Fine, whatever. I'm just thrilled the Academy is recognizing a comic book movie. And now that's 2 years in a row that we've gotten a comic book movie nominated for one of the major categories, including Best Picture. Let's focus on that, at least for the next few weeks. Let's be happy about that. I am. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled about it. And we'll have those other debates later. But for now, let's just be happy about that. So I'm right there with you, JCL. I'm right there with you. Or at least Connor, I mean. Connor, I'm right there with you, Connor. I am right there with you. All right. Let's see. Where do we go here? Okay, there we are. Next up, David Lillian writes, I watched The Happening for the first time with my friend recently. Awful. Absolutely hilarious, though. I can watch it again and still have a great time. You know, you guys have seen, I've had him on my show a number of times, my buddy Soul. His name's John Green. He's like, I think he is the CFO of the Fine Brothers, right? So I know Benny and Rafi. I've been friends with them for over 10 years. And their main right-hand guy is probably my best friend in LA, Soul Video, John Green. Anyway, Soul talks about The Happening all the time. He loves The Happening. It's truly awful. And he'll say it's truly awful, but I love all of its awfulness. And he's just watching that. You're right, man. That's a great way to put it. It is awful. Absolutely hilarious. So in its awfulness, it's in its unintentional hilarity. It's so bad, it's awful. And again, it kind of highlights the fact that while I did not like Glass, it's not like M. Night is returning to putting out train wrecks like The Happening or Avatar or Lady in the Water. No. This is nothing like that. The Glass, I just didn't like. But it's not like it was a train wreck like those other films. And it's not. And The Happening is one of the most truly awful movies of the past like 10, 15, 20 years. Just wow. So I'm a little bit envious, David, that you had a chance to experience that for the first time. All right. Mark C. writes, John, Woo did not... Oh, you're right. You're 100% right. Woo did not direct Hulk. Ang Lee did. I mean, no. You're absolutely right, Mark. That's me. Hey, that's what happens when you're doing the show live and you're taking 45 different questions and all this kind of stuff. Damn, I don't know that number. So, sorry, somebody's trying to call me and I don't recognize the number, so I'm going to get rid of it. Yeah. You have these brain freeze and stuff much like I saw 30 Rock and said Third Rock. Yeah, you are absolutely right, Mark. 100% you are absolutely right. Ang Lee did that. 100% you're right. John Woo, but John Woo did do Face Off, right? Let me just double check that. Oh God, I love Face Off. Face Off, 1997, and that one was directed by John Woo. Okay, so it wasn't Ang Lee. Let me change my thing on that. I'm all for it. Again, I'm all for any good director, but John Woo, I think, would be an interesting choice for that because he did Face Off, and if he could bring some of that to Shang-Chi, I'm totally down. I'm totally down. Thanks for bringing that up, Mark, because you're 100% right. Thank you for the fact correction there. Toby Miller writes, I haven't seen a good fantasy film since Stardust. Oh, God, Toby, I love Stardust. I think Stardust, I'll often talk about how I think Man of Steel is the most underrated comic book movie of all time. Second to that, I think, is the original Thor. I think the original Thor movie is directed by the great Kenneth Branagh. Definitely an underrated film. But overall, I think Stardust might be the most underappreciated movie ever. Stardust is awesome. Claire Danes, you got Daredevil Charlie Cox, you got Henry Cavill, you got Superman in it as well. You got Robert De Niro, you got Michelle Pfeiffer, you got Ricky Gervais. It's a great cast. It is the what I consider to be the new Princess Bride. I mean, nothing will ever touch the Princess Bride, but it's the new Princess Bride. It is truly spectacular. It's truly spectacular. What's the really good fantasy movie since then? I'm sure I have a couple, but I would have to actually sit down and think it through. But hell, Toby, I'm just glad you brought up Stardust. Thank you for bringing that up. John Hine writes, thoughts on the film Defender shot in Hamilton? I'm not sure. I know it. This one with the aforementioned Woody Harrelson, and Kat Dennings is in it too. Sandra Oh is in it. I don't think I ever saw it. I mean, it never got a theatrical release. I know that. At least not a major theatrical release. So I don't think I saw it, man. But I didn't even realize it was filmed in Hamilton. Not surprised. They film a lot of films in my hometown of Hamilton. They film a lot of them there. The TT Gibson writes, started watching Young Justice, didn't think it could compete with Justice League Unlimited, but it's great. Yeah, I tried a couple of Young Justice episodes. To me, nah. I did not find it any good. But that's just me, but I didn't find it any good. Nate Smith writes, holy crap, just saw Efron's trailer as Ted Bundy. Dudes, I'm loving this trailer. I am loving this trailer. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, earlier today, but man, I thought that trailer was great. I cannot wait to see this movie. The title associated with the trailer is this great juxtaposition of this persona that Ted Bundy tried to put forward versus the real underlying thing of what he truly was. Evil, vile, monster, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. I cannot wait to see this movie. Now, they're showing it in Sundance. I have not heard any reviews yet. I'm hoping they're good, but I'm very excited for this, and I thought the trailer was fantastic. Mark C. writes, most satisfying villain death for me was the head thuggy in Temple of Doom. Oh, getting squashed by the roller. Yes, that was pretty satisfying too. There's a number of satisfying bad. They're not often the big bad guy, but many satisfying deaths in the Indiana Jones one. That's a good one, Mark. I like that one. Good choice. ZMG Ruler writes, former DC writer claims Justice League's production budget was $650 million. I find that unlikely. First of all, the writer wouldn't know. I have a very hard time believing that the production budget was $650 million. No, it wasn't. I don't believe that for a second. I just don't believe that for a second. So I'm not saying you're lying, Z. I'm sure you read that. I'm sure that's what somebody said, but I just don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. Santez Henderson writes, I really hope Kylo isn't redeemed in episode 9. Dude made his choice 3 times in the first 2 movies. To not be good, redeeming him would lose me. I mean, look, what I will say is this. if they do redeem him, I'm not going to say automatically it doesn't work. Well, maybe JJ comes up with a way that it works. Maybe. But I'm with you, Santez, in the sense that, look, it's what I call the come to Jesus moment, right? Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader both of them had their come to Jesus moments in Return of the Jedi, right? Where Luke was thrashing at Vader, had a chance to kill him, and the Emperor's like, yes, now strike your father down and take his place by my side, and blah, blah, blah. And in that moment, that's when Luke faced his choice. He had his choice. Strike him down or put my saber down. Go light or go dark, and he chose light. Vader, shortly after, had the same come to Jesus moment. He's watching his master, the Emperor, killing his son, and he's got a choice. Let the Emperor kill his son, or betray his master, go in there and throw him over the edge. They had their moments, and those moments define them. My argument has always been that Kylo was given that same, and I believe it was purposely set up this way brilliantly, as a juxtaposition against that throne room scene in Return of the Jedi. In The Force Awakens, on that walkway that for some reason had no hand railings, on that walkway, Kylo faced the same decision. Embrace my dad who's here reaching out to me, or embrace the dark and run my dad through and kill him. That was his moment. That was his come to Jesus moment. And in that moment, he chose to go dark. And that was his choice, and that defines him. You can make the argument, and then in The Last Jedi, he does it again. Confronted with Rey, and Rey who's there reaching out to him to try to bring him to the light and have that choice and to not be alone, blah, blah, blah. He had a choice, and he chose again. He chose the dark. So all other things being equal, Santez, no, they should not redeem Kylo. He's now your bad guy. He's now your villain. But I am not going to presuppose then that, look, if JJ's got a story plan that works, okay, be open to that. And maybe it does work, maybe it doesn't. But I am going to go into that with that open mind. Let me see what you do. I'm not going to tell you what you need to do or not do before the movie starts. I might have things that I want to see and things I don't want to see, but I'm going to go in, I'm going to leave my expectations at the door and see what you do. If JJ decides to try to redeem Kylo, I'm going to give him a shot to present it in such a way that can win me over. And then I'll decide if it won me over or not. And maybe I'll come out going, wow, I didn't think I wanted to see Kylo redeemed, but they did it in a great way. Or I'll come out going, I knew I didn't want to see Kylo redeemed and they botched it. I mean, I don't know, but at least give them the benefit of the doubt to let them take a crack at it if that's what they choose to do, but I don't believe they're even going to try. I could be wrong. I don't know that. I'm just guessing, but I don't think they're even going to try. So let's wait and see. All right. Roman Bryant writes, yo, John, what's the soda you drink called again? Oh, so the soda I drink, because, oh man, when I used to do back in the movie blog days, when I did my podcast, the movie blog audio edition, I would literally go through an entire 2 liter of Coke every time I did my podcast. So then when I realized how many calories were in soda, I started drinking diet soda. And I would drink like a 2 liter a day of diet soda. Then a while ago, I started learning about all the ways in which diet soda is really bad for you. I got recommended this soda called Zevia. That's Zevia. Zevia is the name of the soda. And it comes in different flavors. And it has no sugars and no artificial sweeteners. And it got recommended to me, and now I drink this. And I still don't drink nearly as much of it as I used to when I drank Coke or Diet Pepsi. It's weird. I'm a Coke guy for regular, but I'm a Pepsi guy for the diets. I just find Diet Pepsi tastes a lot better than Diet Coke, but I thought Coke tastes better than Pepsi, so I'm weird that way. But I don't drink nearly as much as this stuff. Not to mention, this stuff is expensive. This stuff is like $2 a can. So it ain't cheap. So I drink maybe one can a day. Sometimes 2 when I do a really, really long show like this one. But yeah, it's called Zevia. Highly recommend it. I actually quite enjoy it now. All right. Mark C writes, John, are Are you allergic to Canada? Every time you go there for the holiday, you come back sick with a nagging cough. Well, no, here's the thing, Mark. True story. For as long as I can remember, ever since I was 16 or 17, I'll get sick about once a year, sometimes twice. And I'll get really sick, and then I'm fine a day or two later, except for the cough. And then the cough will just hang in there for like a month and a half or 2 months. It's annoying as hell. And I've been to the doctor, but this year I got a little cough. I didn't really get sick this year. I got a little cough. No big deal. Last year I got hella sick because I was already a little bit sick. And then Ann and I went out for New Year's Eve to Niagara Falls, and it was like minus 30. It was like minus 30 degrees. And there was a lot of moisture in the air, and I got really sick. I was in bed for 2 weeks straight. I was in bed. And my mom and Ann eventually go, we're taking you to the hospital because I was awful. And then that hung in there for a while. But yeah, it's been like that ever since. Now, I get sick ever since I started taking all these supplements now that I started taking a couple of years ago. I get sick a lot less often now. Like sometimes I'll even go an entire year without getting a cold or getting anything. But still to this day, when I do get sick, I'll get sick for like a day and I'll feel bad for a day. And then I'll be perfectly 100% fine, except for this damn annoying cough I get. And the cough just seems to dig in its heels and sticks in there for like 6 weeks. And I've never been able to have anybody solve it for me. I've gone to the hospitals and doctors and whatever. And it's like, whatever. And then I have to have halls around me all the time. So you can tell it's not nearly as bad as it was a couple of weeks ago, but still hanging in there a little bit. All right. Flip the USB twice. I like that name. Bumblebee not given a VFX nomination is wrong, in my opinion. Nah, I don't think so. It had very good visual effects, but I honestly can't think of a single film that was nominated for visual effects that I would replace it with. I wouldn't kick out Ready Player One for Bumblebee. I wouldn't kick out Solo for Bumblebee. I wouldn't kick out Avengers Infinity War for Bumblebee. Bumblebee had solid visual effects. It was good, real good. I love Bumblebee. I love that movie. But now you have to make to say it's wrong, you have to make a real compelling argument for me that it clearly deserved a spot over one of the other films that did get a spot. And I don't think you can make that argument. Now, that's just my opinion. You feel differently, clearly, but I just don't feel like you can make that argument. Lyle Naven writes, I should have saved that Obi-Wan joke for April Fools. Well, no. It just hit me when the guy asked the question. That just came to my mind, and then I felt particularly evil. And besides, if I did it on April Fools, no one would believe. No, does anybody believe April Fools jokes anymore? Like, it's so normal now. Like, everybody just expects everything that comes out on April 1st to be an April Fool's joke. So nobody would even buy it anymore. Nobody would believe it. Not even for a second. RBW writes, John, have you seen the show The Expanse? No. And I have had so many of you guys and Robert telling me, you got to watch The Expanse. You would love The Expanse, blah, 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 blah. Yet another one of those shows on my list I got to watch because everybody's telling me how good it is, and I have never had a chance to sit down and watch it. Connor Dixon writes, every major news outlet's reporting that the Obi-Wan film is coming out in 2020. Know anything about it, John? And looking forward to Star Wars TV show. If you're talking about The Mandalorian, I am too. I have not heard major outlets saying that an Obi-Wan movie is coming in 2020. I have not heard that. Let me just double check here. Obi-Wan. Oops. Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. Okay, see if there's anything in the news here. Nope, nothing in the news. So I'm not seeing major outlets saying that it is coming in 2020. There was speculation a while ago that it could, and that Disney was looking at it. But the major outlets are not claiming Obi-Wan is coming in 2020. Like, no one's definitively saying that. But I mean, it's possible. It's totally possible. Now watch. I made a joke about it, but now watch. At Star Wars Celebration, they announced the Obi-Wan movie coming in 2020. And all you guys are going, wait a minute, Campea wasn't joking. I was joking. I don't actually know that it's coming out. So we'll have to wait and see. Okay. Geesus writes, Did you see Equilibrium back in the day? Awesome gun fu for the time. What do you think it influenced the action in John Wick? Yes, and it does have some crazy action in it. I don't know. Personally, I don't see any direct line of influence there, but that's not to say that there wasn't. Look, when you have a movie with like such crazy and kind of unique looking action like John Wick does, you got to believe the directors probably took sources of influence from and inspiration from a lot of different films. Equilibrium could be one of them. It very well could be. Look, let's put it this way. If the John Wick directors at some point gave off a list of movies that kind of inspired them and influenced them in the making of John Wick, and amongst those movies was Equilibrium, I won't be surprised at all. But from an outsider's point of view, just sitting down looking at it, I don't see a direct connection there. But it's certainly possible, because you're right, man. I mean, it absolutely has some crazy nut stuff in it. Alex Hanja writes, I seemingly contradicted myself about my Black Panther prediction, but what I meant was, I don't know what Gern back is, has a better shot than Roma, but that A Star is Born? Guys, please don't use acronyms. Don't make me waste time trying to figure out what it is. Oh, you're saying Green Book. That's what you're saying. So what I meant was Green Book has a better shot than Roma, but that A Star is Born has the best chance overall. I know you see it different because of stats, but I'm sticking to it. Well, okay, so I don't think it's impossible. It's not impossible that A Star is Born wins. What I will firmly disagree with is to say that A Star is Born has a better chance. Math just tells you it does not have a better chance. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But I think you can objectively say it does not have a better chance. Math is math, right? Only 4 times in Oscar history, we're going into our 91st Oscar. Only 4 times in Oscar history has a movie won Best Picture without also being nominated for Best Director. That means 84 times. 84 times. The movie that wins Best Picture, 86 times. 86 times the movie that wins Best Picture also had its director at least nominated for Best Director. And that's not a matter of opinion, Alex. That's the numbers. That's objective truth. That's objective measurements there. And therefore, one set of circumstances has only 4 out of 90 times prevailed. Another set of circumstances has prevailed 86 out of 90 times. Which has the better chance? Math tells us that Roma has a vastly superior chance to win than A Star is Born. That doesn't mean that A Star is Born won't win, because Argo did it, Driving Miss Daisy did it, and 2 films from the 20s and 30s did it. But it's only been 4 out of 90, whereas the Best Picture winner does have a director nominated for Best Director, won 86 out of 90 times. So it's not a matter of opinion. It's kind of objectively measured truth. Roma has the better chance. I mean, by a large margin, Roma has a better chance. Now, again, that doesn't mean A Star is Born can't win. It can. And it could. You very well could be right that A Star is Born comes out, defeats the odds, and wins Best Picture. It can happen. But you cannot say it has a better chance. The math tells us otherwise. The math says otherwise. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I would give A Star is Born the Oscar over Roma. I would also give Green Book the Oscar over Roma. I would give several of these movies that are nominated the Oscar over Roma. But the odds are that Roma will win. Those are the odds. But that's why we play the game, because sometimes, like Han Solo said, never tell me the odds. So let's just see how that turns out. And I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right. I hope Star is Born does take it. I mean, I hope Green Book takes it over A Star is Born, but if not Green Book, I would rather see A Star is Born win rather than Roma. But that's just me. Okay. Jared McBride writes, I love Tom Cavanaugh's character Sherlock Wells on the Flash series this year. I have a hard time saying Sherlock. And did you hear Grant Gustin got married? I didn't hear he got married, but I know Anne loves following Grant on Facebook because I believe his girlfriend, now wife, I guess, is Filipino. Is a Filipino girl. So Anne thinks that's great. And yeah, I like Grant Gustin. I like him a lot. And you know what? I'm going to tell you right now. When they first introduced this Sherlock character, I rolled my eyes. I just thought, oh God, this is bad. But I got to tell you, Jared, it's grown on me. It really has. I mean, I was just, oh, please don't tell me you're doing this Sherlock Holmes. Oh God, this is so dumb. But I got to tell you, man, it grew on me. It did. And now I really enjoy it. And I know he's not going to be around long. They're going to change the Kavanaugh character again, no doubt. But it has grown on me, and now I actually get a real big kick out of it. So I'm quite like you on that in that way, Jared. All right. Let's see. Roman Bryant writes, where'd he go? I think Danny's Spider-Man score is overlooked. Are we talking this year? If we're talking this year, I don't know if we are. If you're talking about Elfman, did Elfman do the score on Spider-Verse? Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find it. Do you mean Danny as in Pemberton? Because Daniel Pemberton? Or do you mean Danny Elfman from one of the other Spider-Man movies? Okay, I'm just going to go out on a limb, and because I don't even know for sure if Danny Elfman did the other Spider-Man movies. I'm not sure. I'm going to assume you mean Daniel Pemberton. I don't think it's overlooked. I think it's pretty good. The problem is the score of the movie is so good. So not the score, the soundtrack is so good. God, I love the soundtrack to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Every single song. I'm going to tell you, I've spent 4 weeks in a row in my car popping on the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack. I can listen to every single song. It's just, and I think that's kind of overshadowed it. And maybe you're right, Roman. Maybe on that level, it's making us overlook the score a little bit. Maybe even when I watch the movie again, it makes me overlook it. So maybe I should pay attention to that a little bit more the next time I watch it. And I will watch it again for sure. Jacoby22 writes, where/when do they say Snoke and Kylo aren't Sith? It's been said, actually JJ himself has said it numerous times in his interview, even before The Force Awakens came out. So yeah, they made it, and like even Kylo in the movies, Jedi, Sith, they're both irrelevant concepts. He does not consider himself Sith. He doesn't consider himself Sith. So yeah, it's implied quite a bit in the movies, but then JJ and stuff like that talked about it openly. They're not Sith. So yeah. And you know, in the cartoons, all the way from Clone Wars and whatnot, they introduced the fact that there are other Force users out there that are neither Jedi nor Sith, and I think they kind of fall into that a little bit. Mark C. writes, where'd Mark C. go? There he is. Mark C. writes, thoughts on the Orville. I was iffy at first, but have come to love this show. Best Star Trek on television. I still think Discovery is infinitely better. Infinitely better. I love Discovery. I think it's a really superior show. And yeah. So, and yeah, you'll hear me and Robert debate it. I'm convinced Robert is just stuck that it's not like the original Star Trek, but I give him a hard time about that. So, you know, but Orville, to me, I have mixed feelings about the Orville. There are some episodes that are fantastic. There are some episodes of the Orville that's fantastic. And there are some episodes of Orville that it was like, oh my God, I should have just gone to bed early. This was so bad. My big problem with the Orville is this. It was proposed to us as an audience. The Orville is like a spoof comedy like a parody of Star Trek. But it's not. It pretends to be a parody of Star Trek when really It's just a ripoff of Star Trek. And it uses the fake premise that, oh, we're a parody of Star Trek to hide and disguise the fact that, no, you're not. You are really trying to be a Star Trek show, and you're just ripping off Star Trek left, right, and center. And you hide behind the term parody to pretend you're something else, but you're not. You're not a parody of Star Trek. You are just a blatant ripoff of Star Trek while also being comedy at the same time. And I take issue with that. I do. I take issue with that. And I love McFarlane, and I love that, all that kind of stuff. And like I said, there are episodes of The Orville that I got to admit I think are just great. But I have a problem with Orville in the fundamental sense that it pretends to be a parody when it's not. It's just a blatant ripoff. And a number of its episodes are just awful. So I'm a little mixed on it. So I'm kind of in that place where I watch all the new... I haven't started watching this season yet, but I watch all the episodes. But I got to say it's not one of my favorite. And yeah, I absolutely believe Discovery is a vastly superior show. I think Discovery is vastly superior. But they're very, very different. You know, one's a straight up comedy, at least it pretends to be, and one is not. All right, Carrie Neves writes, try Ricola honey herb drops, good for a lingering cough. I have tried Ricola before. I have. I always just find that Hall's Just Works is the most effective for me. I think my dad, even when he has it, he uses Ricola. I think he has it really good. But I've tried them. I've tried many different brands, and I just keep coming back to the Hall's sugar-free. It just, I just find it's most effective for me. But thank you for giving me the little, the advice though. Anyway, ZMG Ruler writes, Aquaman at least deserved a nomination for Best Production Design. I'm not so sure about that either, to be honest with you. I'm not so sure about that either. Yeah, I don't know that I agree. Let's put it this way. Had they given Aquaman a production design nomination, which is weird because it was all, their production design was all CGI. I mean, there wasn't any real practical, physical set design in that movie, really. But had they announced that it did get a nomination for that, I don't think I would have argued against it. I think I would have been okay with that. But I also don't see a compelling argument for it to have gotten one. But whatever. I mean, I just like the movie. I don't care. Mark C. writes, have you seen the 6th scale Sideshow Mythos Obi-Wan figure? If Obi-Wan movie does happen, this would be perfect costume design. But again, costume design depends on the movie. So we don't know that it would be perfect costume design. But oh my God, Mark, yes, I've seen it. And holy crap, it looks amazing. It looks so good. How does Sideshow just continuously put out this amazing stuff? How do they just continuously put out this amazing stuff? Everything they put out, I just drool over. I don't need to be a rich man. But if there was anything that would make me want to be a rich man, is that so I can buy all these damn hot toys, because they're so freaking good. Let's see here. Last 3 questions of the day, which is cool because we're coming up on 2.5 hours that this episode has been. Stephen Chambers writes, thoughts about Bill Maher's comments about Stan Lee? Again, I don't care. I'll remind you what I said before. When Bill Maher made his first comments about Stan Lee months ago, or just after Stan Lee died, my big point has changed the same. My point was, who cares what Bill Maher says about Stan Lee? What does Bill Maher have to do with the comic book movie world or about the movie world at all? Who cares? Why do we care any more about what Bill Maher says about Stan Lee as opposed to Larry the plumber in Toledo, Ohio? They're both as relevant. So I don't care what Bill Maher says about Stan Lee. I simply don't care because it is in no way impacting the movie world, in no way impacts, he's no way a part of the comic book movie world. Now look, if some comic book movie director said what he said, I would care. If the Russo brothers said that about Stan Lee, I would care. If Zack Snyder said that about Stan Lee, I would care. If James Wan said that about Stan Lee, I would care. If Chris Hemsworth said about Stan Lee, I would care. If Ben Affleck said that about Stan Lee, I would care. Some random dude who has nothing to do with the movie world or the comic book movie world said his opinion about Stan Lee that doesn't match with ours. Why do we care? Who cares? So I don't care. So I have no comment on what he said because I simply don't care what he said because he has no relevance to this discussion, in my opinion, at any rate. All right. Roman Bryant writes, I meant Danny Elfman's Sam Raimi score. Okay, that's right. It just so happens that the guy who scored Into the Spider-Verse, his name is also Daniel. So it's just kind of funny that way. I don't remember. It's funny. I had Danny Elfman's daughter, Molly. I had Molly on my Masters of the Web panel once. She's a really nice girl, actually. Molly's a really, really nice. Now she's producing. She's producing her own stuff now, which is really cool. James L.H. writes, late to the show today, been to see Glass. I liked it. Interesting how Disney and Universal owning two separate IPs, able to come together to make it. I'm not sure Disney had anything to do with it. And I'm pretty sure Universal didn't have anything to do with it either. I think Universal is the distributor of it. And Disney, that was back in the day. Unbroken was back when M. Night used to work with them. I'm honestly not sure that Disney had any hand or influence at all in Glass. I'm not sure about that at all. I know Blumhouse produced this movie. Universal distributed it. I'm not saying Disney didn't, but I'm saying I don't know that they actually had any input in this movie. I'm going to be curious now to look into that, but I don't think they had any hand, any influence, any creative direction, anything like that in this. It's not like Sony and Disney making Spider-Man in the movies, because they do need to work together. I don't think that's the situation here. I could be wrong, though. Could be totally wrong. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. All right, guys. That will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. 2.5 hours today, guys. We're going longer on the weekends, but you know what? I'm having fun doing the longer ones on the weekend. This is kind of nice and fun. Hey, guys, listen. Thanks so much for being here, contributing all the questions that you have and supporting the channel and all that kind of stuff. Thank you so much. I have a great time doing these. I hope you have a good time following along and chatting, debating with each other, yelling at me through the computer monitor or agreeing with me through the computer monitor. Whichever one makes us have a good time is good with me. I'm glad you're there. Don't forget, the John Campea Show returns tomorrow. Me and Robert Meyer Burnett and Ashley Whalen will be on tomorrow. Make sure you guys join us at 9 a.m. live Eastern, or watch us afterwards if you can't be there live. It's all good. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.